Villainous beats, villainous beats, villainous beats. Villainous beats, villainous beats.
In the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. Flying high, I emerge through the flames. Have no fear, I'm here, so stand back. Melanin activate, the name is super black. In the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. Flying high, I emerge through the flames. Have no fear, I'm here, so stand back. Melanin activate, the name is super black. Imagine that, a future that's super black. Long as your skin brown, your superpowers intact. What would your powers be? Just hope it ain't super whack. Spatial manipulation, create a portal that's black. Maybe just super speed, time travel to run it back. Or cheat manipulation to keep my spirit intact. As I encounter evils the world face, demons the world makes, I'm needed the world at stake. Rest in peace to Chadwick, they killed all the Black Panthers. Told us white lies, I still marvel at black answers. Suits in DC, pray it lead to a civil war. It ain't no Justice League, what's the need to be civil for? Propelled like the juggernaut, it's clear ain't no stopping this. The world in grave danger, who can stop the apocalypse? They killed all the heroes, the new ones don't really care. But if you need me, put your fist up in the air. Yeah, in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. Flying high, I emerge through the flames. Have no fear, I'm here, so stand back. Melanin activate, the name is super black. In the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. Flying high, I emerge through the flames. Have no fear, I'm here, so stand back. Melanin activate, the name is Super Black.
Hey everybody, we are back. It's Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. It's Blur's Eye View. It's your man on the wall, Chris Fury. Let me get myself adjusted here. For those of us listening, I'm talking about the microphone, you dirty-minded bees. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this live on YouTube, remember to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. You get to see all these great episodes and more from the crew that can only do it as we do. Also, you can check us out on Always Press Record on Roku and Amazon Fire Television. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts, including Opulence Radio. You can check us out every Thursday and I believe every Monday as well. Listening to past episodes and great stuff that's been going on. But let's get this party started. Let's bring in the team. Let's get her in here. Always ladies first. Lady Mandalore.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good evening. It's going smoother than it has been.
This is one of them things.
It is. I'll take it. I'll take a win. A win's a win.
A win, yeah, a win's a win. That's the kind of going rate at this point, is a win's a win. Back off sabbatical for a little bit. He's well, he's rested. He's got himself together. The cinematic assassin's in the building.
The king is here. The king is here.
How you feeling, brother? How you feeling?
Hey, listen, Kill Baksoon on Netflix.
Oh,
watch it.
Yes,
watch it.
I've been hearing about it.
Watch
it's
it.
on my list. It's on my list.
John Wick 4.
Oh.
It's up in there. It's up in their business.
Oh.
It's up in their business.
I've seen a couple clips of this one, and yeah, it's a beast. It's a beast.
So tell y'all.
The kill box is what it's called?
Kill Baksoon.
Kill Baksoon.
Yeah.
Oh, Korean flick, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Like, Kill box soon? No,
yeah.
I don't. That's
Kill
a little
box soon.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
premise.
That's a completely different kind of movie.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. We got Black Spartan in the building. What's going on? Every single time. We get him every single time.
Man of Steel.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. What's going on, y'all?
That's what's happening. Love and fatherhood. I've been
Black Spartan killed the box soon. That's why we got little Obi.
And it has begun.
That's a counter moment. That's a counter moment. That's counter.
That's a counter. There it is. Clip done.
I thought, maybe you need another week, Will. That timeout wasn't long enough.
He came out with the hot fire. He's like, I got rounds.
Hey,
been waiting.
It's been sitting there waiting in the chambers. We have a special guest with us tonight, owner of Kolanut Productions, Obi Chukwu. Here he is, coming into the building. What's going on?
Hey.
How's it going? I told him before the show that banner is life.
Dude, I want one.
It's giving me Saturday morning cartoon vibes. I need that in my life. He's going to be talking to us about his production company, all the great projects that he has lined up, and so much more. But how was everybody's week? Weekend.
Eventful.
Well, Black Spartan had to bump it up and buy 2 pallets of diapers.
So, good Lord.
No, I feel sorry for her. That breastfeed ain't no joke, especially when the appetite increases.
Oh, little Obi will be in the gym with you in no time.
Yeah, at this point.
Good Lord. Ouch.
If you guys are wondering why Black Spartan is our ship's mechanic, if you check out his videos, he's just been deadlifting everything. So ship engines and
it's all fake weights. It's all fake.
They don't know.
Fake.
Sure.
Your boy has been celebrating birthday month, so I'm still celebrating. So
you should.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Shout
birthday,
out,
happy birthday,
shout
old
out,
man.
shout out to Candy B. Well, I'm gonna tell you, like I told them, I had a friend of mine said, "Old man," I said, "Old." I said, Nick Fury's old. He has the infinity serum in his blood. I have melanin. We are not the same. We are not the same. So, but yeah, it's I've been enjoying life. Here in Cleveland, strangely enough, normally it rains on my birthday a lot.
Mhm.
It didn't this time on Friday. It didn't. It was 70. It was like 80 degrees.
Mm.
And then it was
Well-
80 degrees on Saturday. And me and the wife went out and did our thing, took around the town, and wouldn't you know it? Turned around Sunday, temperature drop.
Oh yeah.
Then Monday, drop some more.
Mhm.
Come Tuesday, going back to work, say, oh yeah, it's gonna be 37 degrees, maybe 50 as the high. I'm like, yeah. Well, Lord, you waited till after the birthday, so thank you very much.
It's greatly appreciated.
I'm not mad.
This summer weather is something else. I'm a winter person.
Ew.
It's
Exactly.
Ill.
That exactly. So without further ado, we got some news. I didn't want to do that part of it. But
rip it off. Just rip off
yeah,
the Band-Aid.
it's like a Band-Aid. Here we go.
Wait. Just want to say, not being on social and stuff, this is like the scariest part of my week because I don't know what's about to go down.
Well,
It's
we're picking up pretty much where you left. So
yeah. So
Dragon Ball
whenever
Z
you
episode.
remember,
yeah, we're hitting them
Yeah.
all
Will,
numbers.
Well,
all
this is like a
cylinders.
Dragon Ball Z episode. We're still in the middle of yelling.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Next time on
Previously.
Dragon Ball Z. It's one of those type of things. You're still in that stage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Like a Band-Aid. Here we go. Jonathan Majors has
damn.
just been dropped, or his management team has just dropped him. He's also been dropped from several projects, including The Man in My Basement, which is a high-profile ad campaign for the Texas. He's been dropped from a Walt E. Mosley novel, The Man in My Basement. Also, a high-profile ad campaign for the Texas Rangers, and a Fifth Estate Otis Redding biopic. He's also been dropped from this. Yeah.
No.
There has not been any word or discussions as far as Disney dropping him yet. There's been no words yet. I hope that whatever this evidence they have, they need to hurry up and produce this stuff. And we don't want another Johnny Depp. This is what we're saying. We don't want to know, and I don't think Disney wants that neither. They made that mistake before.
Yeah,
and it
don't look. Listen,
he's still set to star in The Understudy on Amazon that's directed by Spike Lee. So, and then also in to play Dennis Rodman in 48 Hours in Vegas.
If that is not, you should just pull out while you. I mean, Jesus.
I mean,
it's Dennis ain't the problem. Dennis
ain't the problem. No,
this is about to be petty. This is about to be petty. Could this be considered as prep?
Stop. Go to bed. Go to bed now. Go to bed. Go to bed. Both of y'all.
It could be.
I'm trying. That's the first thing came to my head. I'm like, wait a minute.
No.
I said, wait a minute.
Is he method? Is it you saying he's method acting? Is that what you're trying to say?
Is he already
Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, he is a method actor. I'm just throwing that out there.
I mean, I don't.
I'm not allowed to talk about this. So
I don't want to see.
I think it's like a Kobe moment, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of folks remember when Kobe went through that situation
Mhm.
and
No.
everyone.
No, I
We-
do not know.
Try
I
not to.
do
We
not.
try not to remember.
Oh yeah, I mean I remember because Dave Chappelle was something when I heard this I thought of Dave Chappelle, that joke where he's like I remember being young watching him. Kobe would be in the courtroom and then in the basketball court, and there was that one time Dave Chappelle makes a joke about how he played like I think he played like 81 to prove he's innocent or something like that. It was just like the thing was that what I'm saying is that this is bad. It's
It is.
definitely bad. Same way it was with a lot of these big A-class high level celebrities or whatever. Like at the end of the day, I think hopefully he can still perform his craft because like, again, there's a lot of these kind of major folks that of African descent that rise, and it's just always that one thing. Like I mean, you keep going. Like it's either that something going on with spouse. It's either running around. I think Martin Lawrence. You got Allen Iverson. You just keep going down the list, and you wonder like if one of those movies, like when they're just checking off boxes of costing out different people that are have such an influence in the community, if that's really happening, like you gotta wonder. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm.
So like
Is
I
it
mean,
like
look at Martin Luther King. Didn't the FBI hit him with that?
Is it a
they
here's a
tried.
character assassination? You got to. It
Right.
does make you wonder. It really does make you wonder. Like, what are they? Because his rise was there. He was in Fantastic Roles. He's actually a really great actor, and we were just like, yo, he's it. Like he's part of this next group of young black actors that's like out here tearing it up.
And philosophical with the cup, because the cup was if that cup he wasn't carrying around wasn't a conversation starter.
Right.
That damn cup. And I said, I'm like, no, he didn't. And I'm like, when he said it, I'm like, okay. And now you're seeing, the text messages didn't really help his cause.
Absolutely did not help. Have you ever seen somebody look with those text messages were basically her with her eyes in the camera reading a script in front of
That's
her
what it
characters.
was. That's
Okay.
exactly what it was.
Wait,
Right,
what
it's like-
happened?
It was an
Yeah.
OJ. It was OJ. That's what it was.
So originally, when the first part of the proving his innocence was coming out, the woman that was supposedly assaulted, which is apparently his girlfriend, was saying that I'm so upset that they arrested you. I told them not to. I told them this wasn't your fault. Blah blah blah. And it really came off like
That look.
Yeah.
That is the look. Yep.
it really came off like if you know anything about abusive relationships and seeing those signs and how that's how that came off. And it was just like, oh God, no, that's not the proof we needed. We didn't need that.
I was expecting proof like I'm walking out, I'm not touching you.
Yeah.
I'm walking out.
I still don't see where's this videotape of the cab situation.
That's what
We
we're
still
waiting
haven't
on.
seen that.
We're waiting on that. We're waiting on.
Let's be honest. If the cab video is like text message video, the mouse is going to be making calls. Let's just be honest.
I mean, they are now, although they haven't parted ways with him, they said they just in case they have a backup. They're looking for a Damson Idris type of actor, and I was like, "Oh, you're looking for
you really want Snowfall as Kane?
Jesus.
The Black Skin Coalition.
That is it. That's not
this
it.
dynasty?
We do not all look and act the same. It don't match.
No, wait.
No.
If we get him from Snowfall, that's the King I want. Who built this
No.
dynasty? Brick by brick.
Boy, stop. We
what
don't
is this?
fight.
What
I'm
did he
fighting
say?
you.
What does he say? He says, "Then shut up and let me get you out of this. I get you everything else."
Just let me get. I can see that. Just give me a Kane. Give me a Kane variant like that. There you go.
So, it's
Bring back Terrence Howard.
Shut
he's talking about retirement. I'm like,
I killed you.
It is basically the same issue.
Yeah.
Him.
Yeah.
Anyway.
he had an issue too. He did. He
Yeah.
had an issue too.
I mean, it's mostly the men. I think the men.
Cancel Terrence Howard.
Yeah.
I think mostly men of African descent really, I guess, are easy picking, or we just ain't figured it out because a lot of the women of African descent, actors, celebrities, for the most part, clean slate. know how to keep their act together. I don't know. That's just a
I feel like listen, look, I'm very much I'm team us all day, every day, any day.
Yeah.
This is a people thing. This particular when it comes down to the violence and staying clean and all that other kind of stuff, that is a person to person scenario.
Mhm.
The judgment and the repercussions, yes, that is a race issue. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like white people. Sorry, white people.
This is why
White people don't be acting the goddamn up the way that we do too. Everybody does the
this
same
is why
thing.
we have a rule. We have a rule when you come up. Do not mess with the church's money.
That's it.
If something's gonna mess with the church's money, it's not for you.
And sometimes you got to change where you at or who you with. And it ain't being brand new, but you gotta understand some
Not
things.
everybody can go.
Not everybody can be on the boat. So
shout out to Russell Wilson.
There it is. There it is. Say what you want, but he came up. He came up. He chose right. He said, "You know what? My man's lineup and everything been right ever since." They haven't been in other news. They haven't been asked, but now that they have expressed interest in doing this, the Russo brothers wants to direct Batman: Brave and the Bold. Batman and Robin.
Did they say specifically?
They want to do it. They said it themselves. They want to do it,
and let them do it.
I say they have a good track record. I've watched just about everything they've done, and I have been impressed. Like from The Gray Man, Captain America: Winter Soldier,
Extraction.
Yeah, Extraction. Which Extraction 2 is coming out. So they have a track record. And it's good. Like they have a storyline going on. So
they did Extraction.
Marvel fucked up big time.
That was a really great movie.
Yeah. So Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame. I'm like, let them have it.
James Gunn is at DC. Like, come friends.
Yes, that's all he is. Like, you know what?
I'm not saying
I've seen you a lot. So let's come on.
I'm not saying y'all got to leave, but the door's open.
James Gunn is treating DC Studios like the open invitation of the Baptist Church. Come, friends.
It's just
you're all welcome here. What movie would you prefer?
It's a vibe. It's a whole vibe, and I'm for it. I don't see them turning it down. Like they're saying. So basically, they say obviously James Gunn's over there running it. It will be a no-brainer, says Joe Russo. We love him to death. We love the direction he's taking that world in. He's going to be inventive with it. And favorite DC characters, they said they've always felt, a certain way.
They are not about to sit up there and tell that lie. Don't you tell me that goddamn lie. They wasn't talking about none of this DC mess when James wasn't there.
Well, they can't. They're under their mouse. They can't say that.
I ain't never heard them say it. Not one word before they started doing these Marvel movies.
You know how they do over there.
Cashing that Mickey Mouse checks.
Yeah, you know how they do.
There's
NDAs that go on over there.
Right.
I'm talking before.
Oh,
even signed up with them. I never heard fools talk about no Marvel movies.
Well, DC really didn't have the kind of hope that we kind of have right now.
That's true.
That's fine, but don't act like you've been pining away.
DC had depression. We got hope for once.
We do.
One time, y'all better enjoy it while it lasts.
Let us whisper. Let us
reboot Batman again.
Oh my God! Oh y'all gonna let that man do a good Superman movie for y'all just one time, please.
So speaking of which, ta-da! He's already working on the script. James Gunn's already working on the script, costume designs, and so much more. I'm ecstatic. I'm not gonna lie. I like James Gunn work. He hasn't let us down when it comes to the obscure and different. I literally can still sit down and watch The Suicide Squad with no problem.
Do you think we're gonna get Mitsaplicity?
Yes.
Ooh. I was about to say you can't say that word on here.
Why not?
I didn't know what you was about to say. I heard Mr. Pussy. I was like, whoa. It's a family show, ma'am.
Manny
It's
Petty.
gonna be a go word.
No, that's the safe word is pineapple juice. That I can, if anybody can pull something like that off, it would be him.
Yeah.
They've tried it before on Smallville. No. Yeah.
Too much CW drama.
Yeah, they tried mental plastic with on Smallville and Doomsday on Smallville, and it just
didn't work.
Budget's too small.
Somebody saved me with more than just a theme song. That was the whole point of the show.
I was like, damn, like y'all were there, y'all had it, and you dropped it. So
look what they did to Booster Gold.
Yeah. I'm rooting for two people for Booster Gold. There's only two people I can really see right now. Oh, then damn, now three. Okay.
Jonathan Majors. No,
Jesus.
Why not? I'm still rooting for him.
I'm still
that would be the resurrection role of a lifetime.
I was going to say, if they ever, and like you said, Black Spartan, if they ever do, like, because they have Blue Beetle coming out. So if they ever do like a Blue Beetle Booster Gold team up, would he have to be, well, Blue Beetle's younger. He's a teenager. He's 20.
Yeah, well, the way they got him pegged now, he's kind of in that post graduation because they're trying to go with the graduation day comic line. So you kind of put him post high school.
So who would be?
How old is Booster Gold?
Booster Gold. See, that's the thing. The Ted Cord and Booster Gold, they were around the same age,
right?
But they're not using Ted Cord for Booster Gold. They're using a much younger person. So now I'm looking at it like, I think you can get away with it, and I'm gonna tell you why. You can get away with it if it's Nathan Fillion. You can get away with it if it's Chris Pratt, and you can get away with it if it's Ryan Reynolds. And this is why. Because those are three people who they would make like really bad decisions, and you would expect them to make better decisions because they're quote unquote older.
Yeah,
and it's the teenager who's had to steer them the other way.
But I mean, if we're being honest, I'd rather just have Nathan Fillion. That's just me.
Yeah. What do you think? What are you gonna say, lady?
Woody Harrelson.
Oh, 4.
Woody Harrelson.
I can see that. I can see that.
So
a little bit of Cheers and a little bit of the serial Natural Born Serial Killers.
Oh my god!
Mix that.
Natural Born Killers.
Natural Born Killers. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still 10 toes down for Jake or Logan Paul. I forget which one is which, but the one that does the wrestling.
No. Oh dear God.
Logan. Is it Logan?
No.
Yeah, Logan.
No.
Logan.
He's not even acting. He just be himself.
Here's the thing. As much as I really don't like, is it Logan or Jake? I can't remember.
Either one.
Either one. Either one
can be punched in the face. Go ahead.
Right. I'm not going to take away from his athleticism. He is performing on that level.
Yeah.
He's performing on that level.
Yeah, I agree. But I don't know. Yeah, I agree.
The fact
he's
millions
really of dollars, and
he's boxing, he's wrestling.
His boxing is weak.
His boxing is definitely weak.
His wrestling, a high school wrestler can defeat him.
I can see his wrestling with the right storyline being much better.
Stop giving that boy a job, please.
No, he just needs to pick one.
No, I don't want none. Anyway, I'm gonna let y'all live.
I mean, I said athleticism because what I seen him do in the WWE.
Yeah, definitely. I saw that too. It was quite.
It's impressive. I was impressed. I was like, okay, wasn't expecting you to do that. Okay, Swanton bomb.
But I love martial arts, and I just feel like when I see him, sometimes I'm just like.
But don't expect us to take you serious. Is what I'm saying. So it's just one of those things. I could Yeah.
Ben
Lady
Jones.
Mandalore threw me off with Woody Harrelson, and I'm like,
now you can't unsee it.
like he's like an older Booster Gold, and he was just like, I need to fix this. It's like,
What if Booster Gold is Woody Harrelson popped up at a Cheers bar and said, "This feels familiar."
Oh God. Oh,
or just on the set alone, this pops up on the set. Oh my God. Man. All right, so that's the petition. James Gunn, whatever you're looking, we got four in running. At this point, it's just kind of like, who's the favorite? It seems, who's the favorite? No, Fillion will probably win that role. Because Ryan might be busy with Deadpool.
Deadpool's about to be in multiple Marvel movies just to use cameos.
I could just hear him like, what the shit?
You're probably asking yourself, why am I in Fantastic Four?
With the music playing in the background. So I know people that have listened to the past episodes have heard there's a particular infamous episode where it was me, Candy B, in DC, where we went on a 25-minute roast session on Cyclops. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Cyclops. I don't. They nerf him in the cartoon. They nerf him. If you read him in the comics, however, he's not the Boy Scout. He's not as lovelorn as you think. It's just that's his he's all about you getting these hands. He's team E. He's rated E for everybody. He's like, you getting these hands. If you have not read issue 21 of X-Men,
he was completely justified. That's all I'm gonna say.
This man set up there, like, even Gene, he was on a tear, and Gene said, "No, Scott, you need to look at me with your eyes." And she held his power back, and she barely talked him down.
Mm-hmm.
He was just like, for now, we're gonna table it for now, but I guarantee you,
he wasn't wrong. he wasn't wrong on that assumption.
He was. He is making moves.
Mm-hmm.
He is saying things. I'm just like, where was this dude in the '97 X-Men?
Talk funky.
Trying to be reasonable. That's where he was.
Wolverine and the Broodmare, and the Broodmaster. It's like,
he was like, wipe him out. He's like, I don't want him. Get rid of him. Don't need him.
Just love the fact. But we should save them. Why?
Yeah.
just straight up. Why?
They should have been gone. That's his. We should have gotten rid of them a long time ago. That's his thing. I like what I will say. Yeah, yeah. I like I like how they're playing the X-Men right now. Oh God, I love how they're playing the X-Men right now. I really do. I do. If you, did I have the picture? If you're reading Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants,
yeah.
Oh my God. She is her namesake. Thank God she is her namesake. Here it is. If you are reading, there was this issue 3. Yeah, issue 3 of Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants. Goddess doesn't even fit her mold anymore.
My queen. My queen.
They have
undying entity.
They have literally undying entity. Like, my girl lived several hundred years.
You know?
The literal definition of pull up. That's about the best way I can sum up that issue. The literal definition of pull up.
As a matter of fact,
smoke, I'll provide it.
But prior to this run that she's doing right now, when she was running Krakoa, when she goes against Cyclops' brother Vulcan, I can guarantee you, because she's whooped Cyclops' ass before in hand-to-hand combat. I'm pretty sure Cyclops has said, you know what, you need this ass whooping because you just talking too much. I'm sorry, Aurora. Go ahead, do what you got to do. Go into the bar, set him down, because he ain't listening. Havoc is like, yeah, when I'm the voice of reason, you need to listen. That
can be seen as a disrespectful. That was a disrespectful ass whooping.
Oh yeah,
It was.
she was
Well,
like,
he was being
let me.
disrespectful.
He was being disrespectful, so she
there's a
answered in
level.
kind.
There's whoopings, and there's ass whoopings, and there's disrespectful, because that was a morally intelligent way of destroying someone to the soul core, to the point where it's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm
I
gonna
bet
sit
you
down
won't
and
do it
just-
again.
It was just.
I bet you won't.
Literally, like that's that song. I bet you won't. I bet you won't. I bet you won't.
It just, whoo, that was almost in that John Walker level. Just you just sitting there, just afterwards.
Yeah, I think we need to do top 10 worst Marvel ass whoopings, because that, you know, split them off, one live action and one comics, because Lord,
comics gonna be kind of hard. Live action, okay, but comics.
You know, John Walker's literally at that list. Like, he's like
the John Walker ass whooping for live action. Okay, I was gonna say comic wise.
Yeah, he gets the disrespectful one.
John Walker is like the top 3 spots.
Yeah, he really, for real. He is the top. It was like at number 1, John Walker. Number 2, John Walker. Number 3, John Walker.
Honorary mention.
Honorary mention, John Walker. It was like as bad as Cap got the whooping in Winter Soldier, it wasn't disrespectful. It was like that was a fight.
It was like I could take your shield from. I was like, I could take your cookie and just walk off, and you gave the look she gave him. I could take your cookie if I wanted. You gonna give me this cornbread? That's what it looked like.
I'm gonna give you this. You gonna give me this cornbread moment? That's exactly what it was. I'm like, you gonna give me this cornbread? No, I'm not. And that's just how he said, no, I'm not.
The look on his face was.
Is that supposed to threaten me? I don't know, but
I just felt bad for Brave Star that got pulled into this. It's like, I know you got to back up your boy and all, but
you should have done. You should have looked at Bucky and followed Bucky, because Bucky literally was like, I ain't got nothing to do with this.
That was the one thing. That was the one part of that I was like, wait a second, this wasn't written by black folks. Because if you see your man about to challenge Dora Milaje, and you just see Sam take one step back. And your black sense didn't kick in, like, wait a minute, why the other black dude step back?
Yeah. When Sam went to say something, Bucky's like, Sam didn't really fight him. No. He was just like, well, they're going to kill him. And he was just like,
I'm glad about the fact that Sam was just busting out laughing the entire time. He busted out laughing.
Yeah. Lamar got raised out in the county, clearly.
There's no respect whatsoever. And then got the cheat code used on you know, like messing around with y'all down. I lost my damn arm. I wasn't even supposed to be here with this. So I was supposed to be sitting back and eating cake with Sarah. With who? None of your business. That's none of your business.
Still was like, when he looked at it, when he let his arm go limp, it's like, dang, it's almost like she figured you out. You kind of felt bad about yourself.
They literally gave him they gave Bucky, we brought you in this world, we'll take you out type of
pretty much.
It was just one of them things. He was like, oh jeez, all right, fine, we don't want him dead. We need
gave
him for
his shoulder a blood handshake and his arm.
We told you we wanted Zemo. We wanted Zemo at dawn.
You knew better than to step in. Now look at you. That was one of them moments. You knew better. Why are you even doing this? Why are you here?
I was like, you just imagine now take your good hand, pick up your arm.
Right. You lucky we like you. You know. Oh my God. So that's the news for the week so far. Hopefully things turn out better for Jonathan Majors. I hope whatever this other piece of evidence does clear everything, but it leads to the question, is the damage done?
This better be the Johnny Cochran level of evidence. Like, you better see a glove and oversized hand come out of nowhere and be like, excuse me, let my boy go.
Made me think of that Jamie Foxx episode when he's putting
oh my God.
Look, I know I can speak for all of us on that. It's just that, you know, it's it's disheartening when you can sit there and see a guy that had so much going for him. And again, we are always rooting for everybody black, but to fall that fast.
Black
It
Sam.
just it look. Oh, you know what? Before
Yeah,
we
go
go
ahead,
into
Karen.
this,
Go ahead.
no, before we
Go
go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
into
Karen.
that,
what? No, I got something in my throat.
I might,
Allergic to
I might have.
bullshit.
I didn't get to put the other two pieces up here, but I will.
Mhm.
But I want you to know this will be one of the last two times because there's going to be a time where this is going to be said again.
Mhm.
Manuel Godoy of Black Sands,
We doing whole names. Lord
whole
Jesus.
names, because I'm gonna tell you, you called out. First off, you bullied a black woman.
Mhm.
Unnecessary move. So yes, we're calling you out. We were rooting for you. We really were until it came out. And I'm not just talking about Mighty Z. Apparently it was some other stuff. Some
Mhm.
very questionable business practices. But then you turned around. Not only did you bully her, you tried to get her off of social media, off of a
Mhm.
critique of your book. I'm sorry. Someone asked her to do a review. She did the review. She spoke honestly about it. This is how that works. You didn't like it. You said it was tarnishing your brand. I'm
Mhm.
sorry if one black girl managed to tarnish your brand, not you putting your foot in your mouth
And doubling down.
and doubling down.
I'll
Two
say
for one, 2 for 1 sale in foolishness.
I'll
Yeah.
say this though. I'm still I'll say this. I'm still rooting for him for different reasons.
Mhm.
I've worked with this individual, Mayan Godoy, and I sensed and I got when you're working in this industry, there's different people who have different levels of sensitivity. There's some people who you could tell that were bullied. There's some people who could tell had no hands, couldn't fight. You could just tell. You know what I mean? No, I'm serious. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you could tell different things,
Mhm.
and and there's different people who steal. There's different people who are liars. Like I'm in Southern California, I'm in Los Angeles. You get all types of individuals in this creator business, and Manon Godoy is one archetype of many archetypes. Um, so uh, sometimes like when I experience what I've experienced, I I'm all about being a little bit professional when it gets to that level because
Mhm.
I think it's remember Reservoir Dogs when they start
Yes.
arguing, they
Yes.
say
Mhm.
stop acting like that. That scene bothers me to this day. Like it still bothers me to this day because I felt it was unnecessary. They're saying that people of African descent cannot focus, organize, and execute on any type of business, whether it's crime business or
Mhm.
any legal business. And so, in my interactions with Madame Godoy, I just kept it where I don't want to be that scene in Reservoir Dogs. I'm just gonna be like, all right, professionally, it's great working with you. I want to keep growing. I want to in the future love to follow up. Blah blah. Blah. That's how I keep it because again, different sensitivities. The pandemic brought in a lot of different type of personalities from people
Yes.
that were used to be okay. All of a sudden, after that, things were a little bit more tense. And so for me, Manuel Godoy doing what he did in Shark Tank was still a major move for the Black creator community. And
It was.
regardless of, it was still a major thing. I mean, I was at DreamHack and people kept thinking I was Black Sands. We got that 4 times. We're like, not we're not Black Sands, And there was a moment where I thought to myself and I was like, he is pushing the needle.
Mhm.
Is he the anti-hero right now in the community? Maybe, but
Yeah.
for me, I agree. I've heard about the bullying. I've heard of all those things, but because I'm from Cali and because I'm where I'm from, like I see when I see him, I see the playground and I'm like, dude, don't like it's one of those things like he goes that way. I'm like, it's one of those things when you're in the playground, it's like, okay, that guy has hands, that person's a tattletale, that person it's like that. I
He
see
says,
I see you know what I mean? Like I just see that kind of world whenever I interact with a lot of individuals. And so I would just say this. I I do I in I will say that I am rooting for him to grow. I do hope that certain business practices get mature. I
Mhm.
do hope that there are certain parameters that are better because
Mhm.
I don't know if you folks know when you're a Black creator, you're interacting with different people. Maybe there's money involved and all that, and we don't have a black business culture and African descent business culture. I lived in
Mhm.
China. I know how Chinese do it. I know how the
Mhm.
Americans do it. Everyone has a business culture, but ours are not quite defined.
Right.
So like you have those things that are happening, and for me, instead of I personally am like, Godoy, keep doing your thing. I just hope that we can develop a better business culture when we're dealing with each other.
Not yet
That's all
with
I'll
the
say.
Yeah.
community, and that leads into what I was going to say next is you called out the blurred community, the community that you were catering to.
Mhm.
So you can't. It's it's a good way to create, like you said, Obi, that it's a bad practice.
Business
It's a
rule
bad practice.
102. You don't
It's
go after
bad
your customer
practice.
base.
It was like, like we were pushing for you when I've even did it on the show when you made it on Shark Tank. When you made it on Shark Tank, I it was articles, an article on the website and everything. I was all for it.
Mhm.
I'm like, dude, you're like you said, he's pushing the needle, but that's what you did was not cool.
Right.
And then to turn around and turn your back on the basically uh call out the blurred community like you did. And I'm like, no, it's the blurred community you're creating this for. You should understand that.
Mhm.
And you can't, it's not cool. It's
But
not
it's
cool.
but it's
There,
just the
there,
thing.
there's a point where I'm sorry, I don't mean
No,
to cut
No,
you
no.
no,
off.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, lady. No, go ahead.
Um, I am all for, like I said before, I'm all for pushing Black content creators. Everybody can make mistakes. That's fine if you learn from them. This is not that case. There needs to be a place where we hold our standards higher than what this man is putting forward.
Mhm.
He has adamantly been saying this is the way that he wants to operate and is trying to turn it into or make it seem as though none of the things that he said has ever happened.
Mhm.
That does not show growth. That
Yeah.
shows that you do not take any, you do not accept any of the
Accountability.
repercussions that have come up. That doesn't show that you can at least acknowledge that you made some type of error in your judgment, even if you don't mean it. I'm
Right.
not, I do not want this person in this blurred community. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm
You,
Cannot,
sorry.
you
He
cannot
has
accept
done something that's
look,
responsibility.
irreparable to
I
me.
was the first one I was one of the first ones to say you need a PR team
Badly.
because you shouldn't get on your lives and continue on in
But
that manner. It's
I'm just
not.
saying, but that's his brand. I totally get.
I don't want that brand. I do
I
not
no.
want that
I
brand
mean,
in the
I
blurred
agree.
community.
I understand
No.
it. I
Then
I'm
there's
just
then
I
I need us to stop letting things like this slide. I'm not having it
It's the
anymore.
actions that's being
We
taken
need to
by
have
the
some
actions
sense of
that's being
unity and
taken
community.
by the at least the majority of the blurred community. The actions that's being taken are making him accountable.
Yeah,
Like we're making you accountable for reacting the way you did. You can't do that. Like we're not tearing you down,
but we're holding you accountable.
but we're holding
Right.
you accountable because once again, it's Will Smith and Chris Rock. We can't be fighting in front of the peoples.
In front of
You
Mhm.
no.
know,
I don't.
we're
I
like,
agree. I'm just want to say I don't know if you've noticed he's this, and I agree with you. He hasn't changed. But
Mhm.
one thing I noticed is that this is there's a marketing strategy when you're being a black creator. One of the hardest things come with a marketing strategy that works and sticks every time. And I watched his growth, and he's like the Trump of the community, where he doubles down. No, he doubles down on activity. He stokes the flames of anger. He's been doing this for years, and we've been watching, and
it's
seeing
funny
him
that you
how
said
he's
that.
used that to get to where he is in Shark Tank. On top of that, and I do agree with you, Lady Mandalore. I do agree with you. Accountability is most important thing, at least for me personally, in terms of integrity. What I see is that because his marketing strategy is that form, what he's done is found a demographic of people that I believe have been underserved by the blurred community, in a sense, and that's the Hotep community. And he's galvanized that group in such a way that I'm actually uh, surprised and in awe that he's grabbed this community. I call them the Black Janissaries. This community of die hard. I'm talking die hard folks that will always be behind him, and that And I agree with you on everything you're saying, but as a person who studies martial arts, as a person who studies like people who do strategic things, I'm watching. I'm like, oh, this is very interesting. How
He
this
still has
hasn't been.
some
He
force.
has this army of
So
people that have been forgotten. I'm talking the Moors, Black Israelites, and Egyptian Hoteps. This is this core community, and he's galvanized them and made them part of his demographic, and has almost like weaponized them. And now I guess there's that because other folks, other folks in Blur community haven't found a way to control that in his army and hold him accountable. I think it's growing to where it is now. And again, like I said, to me, I see a sensitive guy. I see a sensitive guy doing business. I do believe in holding him accountable. And I, in my business practices, I've held him accountable and kept it 100. He always thought I was bullying him because I held him accountable. But again, what I will say is that um, I think just like you said, we have to kind of keep it in the home. With guys like that or individuals like that, um, if if they if we don't get to the heart of what is at the heart of his issues, we won't it won't go anywhere. And I'll use another example. There was a person who was very dear, and rest in peace, Maya Crown, wonderful woman,
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes,
wonderful woman,
yes.
and she was like our number one fan. Great. There's something that happened, and I was watching, and the conversation changed, and there was a lot of tenseness, and there was things being said, and we were very surprised. I didn't know what was going on, but I did know one. I don't want to attack again the rules. I don't want to. There's no. I don't want to attack or retort with, especially a woman of African descent. I just backed off a bit, and also I was looking at the world. The world was going through this mental health
Shift,
crisis, just
massive.
total shift. And I was like, I don't think something's off. I don't know what it is, but let's not say anything.
I know.
Even
I
though
know.
we're being attacked, our reputation is being attacked, and I don't know why, but I'm not saying anything. And then later on comes out there's complications, and I don't know what's going on in other people's homes. And I think as a creator community, we're creating just like you are, all are under this weight of so many different priorities. And I think sometimes those things come out in such a negative way. And like I'm so happy that I never retorted or sent anything back because it came out there's a medical condition.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Mhm.
and I, to
She
and
fought
she was
hard.
she
She fought hard.
yeah
She
right.
fought hard.
And she was the foundation. She was a foundational element of the blurred community, like huge foundational person. And I'll never take that away from her. And I what's the word, I uphold her at a high status of being one of those people to do that in her
Mhm.
time. And I agree with you. There has to be a better way to hold folks accountable to develop better business practices amongst us.
Yeah.
But you know,
Not only that, but they have to be able to receive that accountability.
You have to
Say, you know what, to kind of look back and say, you know what, I might have. Okay, this is where because I know exactly what you mean. You know, like he's sticking to his guns. That's a good practice, but however, you got to watch who it is you're
you can't
doing.
you can't let the persona overdo your business. Like you can
Yeah.
sit there and be the villain all you want to, but you can't be the villain at a time when you have to be the businessman. Because he can be the villain, he can sit there and be this extreme. And I'm a wrestling fan, so I see heel personas when I see them. The problem is when the heel persona gets in the way of your business, and that's what ultimately will do him in. Because, like Chris said, you don't have a PR person that goes, you need to sit down right now,
Just
because
that ain't the battle. That ain't the battle you want.
Right? Because
there's a war you're creating. There's a battle you didn't need to fight. You could have
exactly.
you could have just took the critique. You could have took the critique and moved on. You just said, you know
he could
what?
have said thank you. He could have said thank you for your criticism, or said, you know what? Because you have such great insight, let me invite you onto this, and we'll bring you into this because I want opinions. What have you just done? You have opened the door for other creators to come in and help you with said product. That's what a PR/businessman does. You don't. First and foremost, there's no such thing as bad Bad publicity.
Press,
bad, yeah, bad
bad
press.
publicity, or bad
Thank
bad
you,
press.
thank
One
you,
of
thank
those.
you, thank you. Because apparently I failed at the spelling bee.
That's that newborn child brain.
Yeah, child, I blame Obi. But yes, there's no such thing as that. So you know, great artists, creators, businessmen have learned to take negative situations and turn them into positives. That is a classic business case of failing to take what could have been a great moment to bring folks in, and instead you double down. And again, you also fail the number two rule of business: you don't sour your target audience. You called out every blurred and said, for lack of better words, you don't matter. You told an entire community that backed you up since your rising into Hollywood, when he says he was shunned from Hollywood because they didn't believe in showing accurate descriptions of Egyptians. He says he went on Shark Tank and challenged Mr. Wonderful, and Mr. Wonderful sat there and said, "quote unquote, I'm sorry, your comics will never make it just because nobody wants to see it." And you had Mark Cuban and Kevin Hart go, "Well, we disagree. There's an opportunity for this," and you made a deal for that. So yes, you have opened doors in situations to prove that you can do it. But again, you soured your target base. Once you sour that, that's hard to come back. That is essentially that's essentially a business killer.
Yeah,
You
what
don't
he
come
has
back
done,
from
what
that.
he has done,
Mhm.
and is this would have either way he would have played it, whether it was the positive or the negative.
Mhm.
What he has done is open that door for other black indie comic creators to come
Mhm.
through. Whether it was a positive reaction or a negative reaction, it did open that door
Mhm.
to
That's
say,
the only
"Hey."
thing I'm thankful for.
That is true. I just as much as that door is open, I do not want his example to be reflected upon others, because that's how they're going to view it.
Can he
I-
recourse or whatever? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he could.
Mhm.
You know, if you just learn to address that said community, you
Mhm.
know, learn that community. You have that community, work with that community first. We'll worry
Mhm.
about the rest later, about getting everybody else on board. Right now, the community matters. Everything
Mhm.
else will fall in line. You just can't address that community in that fashion. We have enough against us.
Right.
We have enough against us to not have our very own burn the bridge, so to speak.
Mm.
I
He called
I
it.
think there were I think that because I want to say I'm hoping that it's the majority of the community, because I don't know,
Mhm.
but I think the majority of the comic creator community has shown that that is something that they don't want to emulate, that it's not really going to blow back on them, because the majority of them have taken a stand to say, my guy, that's not the move.
Yeah.
It's that is a standard which you should not fall below.
Mhm.
Right.
Below the line of Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, you're
Yeah.
rubbing off on me.
I think what it was. I
It's
think
spreading. It's spreading.
what it's done is, you know, had he just left the critique, and I get it. You're creative. You wrote and did your books. I get it. You're feeling sensitive, like Erica
Mhm.
Badu. I'm sensitive about my shit,
That's
Mhm.
and that's fine.
and that's fine. And we
Mhm.
nobody said anything about that.
Right.
No,
But you went after a lone person whose job is literally doing that, and it didn't
a
work.
year later.
A year later, and it was like, you sit back. You know, there are certain things, you know how you see things on social media and you like, I should answer to that, and it ain't necessary.
Mm-mm.
You can leave it
Mm-mm.
be. You can just say, you know what, that's just one person's critique.
Kevin
You-
Durant.
Kevin Durant's good example. But and that's one of them
boy.
things. So
That
you know, you
bronchitis,
could have
boy.
just yeah, bronchitis. But you could have just left that as is and said, okay. And like Black Spartan said, there's different ways to look at it. You answered it. You didn't have to. You could have just said, okay, that's just her critique.
Mhm.
You could have taken a step back and said, well, maybe I need to take a look at it and maybe see what's going on and what she sees and whatever. Maybe I need to reach out and talk to this person and say, hey, tell me what it was you didn't like or did like, and would you like to see more of?
Every critique is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Every critique.
There it is.
That requires a level of respect that I do not think that man had.
It was bad.
I'll say it.
It was just bad. It was just bad move.
Bad
form, Peter. Bad form.
Not bad.
I'll say this. I mean, I'll just flip it. Like I said, like you folks are, you do this podcast, you do these reviews, and you're kind of like the voice of the blurred community in terms of comics and different content. And I said it before. There's a lack of a culture of certain business practices. But one thing I also explored as I was doing content creation is certain philosophies. And like there's a philosophy that we all know that's I think we all know that's core to our identity, which is Ubuntu, right? Hopefully folks know Ubuntu. If folks don't know Ubuntu, then I don't think that anybody will be able to properly hold some certain creators accountable. And Ubuntu is the principle of thinking that we are because we are, right? There's Mandela's famous for talking about Ubuntu. It's a major philosophy, African philosophy. It's a philosophy that other cultures in different small ways have. And I think what everyone's saying here is that the lack of the spirit of Ubuntu or the thinking of Ubuntu is at the heart of the problem. And that's what I think. Like, forget the whole talking about the lone person. Just existing in a way and doing business in a way that you're not using the principles of Ubuntu, which he should know closer to the type of work he does with the Egyptian and all that. If he can't tap into that, then that's where I think the blurred community should come in. But again, I want to hold the blurred community accountable for not talking about those principles and setting those things. Like, here are these things that are practices as a community that we need to do, because that's what I'm seeing. When I got into this, there was no orientation. There's no one saying this or that. Like, it was barely happening. It was organic. But I think just as he needs to be held accountable, I want to also hold the community accountable. How are we putting the principles of Ubuntu, which is positive, in effect? How are we enforcing that? And I think that's what's key, because if you don't have that, like I said, sensitive people who are going through whatever is going on, is going to pop off.
It's gonna come up. Yeah. So
But
we're going to before we do that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to take this break. We're going to continue to, because I like this conversation. I love these type of conversations. But we're going to come back. We're going to talk about Obichukwu, about his production company, Kolanut Productions, and more about Ubuntu and all this. See, this platform has a way. It has a way. So we'll be right back.
Fast money, y'all. We getting ready to finish up the game here. Now your teammate done scored enough points. I think you just need to get one answer right to win. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, name a podcast. Blurred's Eye View. Who should have won that Oscar? Angela Bassett. Who did win the Oscar? Don't give a damn. Name a cartoon. Ed, Edd n Eddy. Name a guest from question 1. Carl Jones. Alright, that did it. Congratulations, you won the game. Hellspawn cosplay. Now we only need a one name. Hieroglyphics. You can stop now. Josh Evans. Chase Bogan. Josh Brown. Y'all cut the commercial. He gonna be on this for a while. Blurred's Eye View. Be sure to peep the podcast on all platforms, or stream every episode on Always Press Record TV. APR TV now downloadable on Amazon and Roku. APR TV, the power of podcasting in the palm of your hand. Get it today.
This just in.
Feeling groggy in the morning? Coffee just can't give you that pep in the step that you're looking for? Try Pop Starts for that great get up and go that adults need. Pop Starts has the vitamin and nutrients that only grown-ups can partake in, and with flavors such as tossed salad and scrambled eggs, and Jack Daniels and Bud Light flavors to start your day or end it. There's nothing better to wake up to unless you count that depressing cubicle job. Well, anyway, try Pop Starts today. Pop Starts is not part of the Kellogg's Corporation. Pop Starts could give you diarrhea. Pop Starts are not found in your local grocery store. All right, we are back. I just love watching people's face in the background as I'm playing that commercial. I swear to God, it brings me joy.
Like Pop-Tarts.
Absolute joy. We are here with Obichukwu. He is the owner of Kolanut Productions. I keep looking at this banner, man. This banner in this background is doing stuff for me. Let's talk about your company. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the projects you got going. We were getting in some really dope conversation about Ubuntu and the teachings. Let's go at it. Let's
Yeah,
go at
no,
it.
let's start with and then y'all can come in and be critical. Like I want to take a step back and say from our conversation for Kolanut, we're especially all the people who are working within Kolanut Productions, we are people of critique. We like
Mhm.
critique. I'm a athlete. I just all I know. If I'm not getting critique, I feel like people are just gassing me up. I need that hardcore stuff. So that's the type of culture we have created within our company, and we had to do it because our artists are sensitive. So we have to teach them early on, communicate a lot, and be open and ready for critique because you're gonna get it, and it's not
Well,
personal.
well, I want to
So
say first off, whoever did the art for your banner,
yeah,
it's very clean.
yeah, yeah.
It's
I think
very clean. It's not choppy. It's not all over the place. There's times I've read, even mainstream comics where the art doesn't match the story. Sometimes it kind of gets off and it throws you off because by law we're visual people.
mhm.
And so when I see art like what I see behind you, this is very clean art. That's why I say it's giving me Saturday morning cartoon vibes. It's giving me Static Shock cartoon feels. It's a very clean line, and I like it. I dig it. I'm digging it.
Thank you. Yeah, one of our artists. Over we work with artists around the world, and he did a really great job capturing the essence of this. Is this kind of a representation of our multiverse? And so, Kolanut Productions, as a culture, the word kolanut is the actual kolanut. It's the actual bean. It's
Hmm.
cousin of the caffeine bean in Africa. It used to be in Coca Cola, so it's just caffeine in it. But in Nigeria, particularly the Igbo, I'm Igbo. um, when you um, when you're celebrating something, graduation, marriage, or someone comes to your house, you offer them kola nut. You pray over it, you break it open, and then you eat it. It's super bitter, and that means that means we get welcomed. So if I came on this podcast and I wasn't offered kola nut, that means we're enemies. So kola nut is a kind of like a African tea ceremony, particularly West African tea ceremony, where it's like I welcome you. So Kola Nut Productions, we welcome you to our content. That's why we call it
Mm,
Kola Nut
mm.
Productions.
That's a dope concept, and I like that. Uh,
Yeah.
if had we been in person, I would have offered you such things.
I mean, yeah, it's a big
but but
deal.
I like that because there's a thing that goes well. There's been this wave. There's been this wave that's been going around past couple of years of our people, meaning Black people, uh, finding our roots, finding our heritage, finding our pasts, and understanding traditions and why those traditions are in place. And I think that's dope that you just expressed that because I'm pretty sure people that's listening and watching they probably didn't know.
Yeah.
And it's a dope intro solo.
Yeah, very few people know about the why it's called Kola Nut Productions. And there's a lot of like little insiders, but that's a big thing about our culture. It's a welcoming experience. And if you I think when you're coming up with your company, at Black creators or creators of African descent, you should think about those things so then it can kind of frame a lot of how you present your content, how you think about your content. All right. So Kola Nut Productions is that we've been doing this for a decade. We are the world's largest Black comic universe. Now, I'll explain why. And this is a sample of our comic universe. Um, uh, we have in print probably seven comics in print. I think there's about five titles. 27 titles on Webtoon, and we have 100 stories planned for release throughout the year. And so we're positioning ourselves as an African Disney, just an IP factory,
Mhm.
if you will. Of course, Saturday cartoons, Toonami, all those things inspired us, and is why you see what you see, and why you get those feels. If you feel that in some of our stories, um, our main focus is that we looked at as we were creating a lot of stories. Our multiverse came up to be the Neo African comic universe. So Neo Africa, we first mentioned Neo Africa during our Kickstarter in 2014. And the reason we mentioned Neo Africa was because of the influence of Akira, Neo Tokyo, right?
Yes.
And as we know, Akira influenced a lot of people, right? And so we were like Neo Africa. And the reason I put in Neo, I created this concept of Neo Africa was I studied. My major was politics and Chinese. I can speak Chinese. My focus was African Chinese relations in my bachelor's, and I had already read about this idea of an African Renaissance. Apparently, one of the old independent African leaders, Kwame Nkrumah, all those that group of folks, there was talk about there'll be one day there'll be an African Renaissance where, there's a part two where everything's great for the continent. Basically, not just Wakanda, the whole continent is in that
Yeah.
state and the diaspora.
Mhm.
That is an actual thing we can find on Wikipedia. And when I heard about this, it called a second African Renaissance or something like that. I was like, what if that's how some of our stories are placed? Either you're in during the African Renaissance already happened, and you're in Neo Africa, you're
Hmm.
post that Renaissance in the future in space, or you're
Mhm.
just getting up to that. And so we created a uh, five multiverse comic universe where there's different versions of Neo Africa. And so that's kind of what we're about right now. We're pushing these comics. We're going to conventions. We're doing podcasts, really coming out there, and then just kind of sharing our work, finding our voice, finding our marketing. No negative marketing. We decided not to do that.
Yeah.
We decided not to do that. Cause I mean, yeah, we decided not to do that. Cause I don't know what it is in Cali. You can't be talking like that. It's kind of it's too dangerous.
Mhm.
It's too dangerous in SoCal to be talking like that. So we personally decided to take on a very those who are adventurous, who love to travel, those who want to know about culture and not just about skin. So we don't do storytelling. I think storytelling is going to be done soon. We do
Hmm.
culture telling. I made
Mhm.
that up. I started saying that 3 weeks ago. But culture telling. So we're telling you stories of via culture. So Red Origins, our first comic with that character with the red, we're using elements of Pan African mysticism, all the juju,
Mhm.
voodoo, all that. We turn it into what you see in Harry Potter and what you see in Naruto, and we really focus on that. You see the two people, the guy and the girl in the hijab, and the guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was based off Somali pirates. We were sitting there and we were like, oh, um, you know, there's no. We were sitting there and we're like, oh, they call it Pirates of the Caribbean, but how many Caribbean did you see? Right? The whole thing. And so it's like Caribbeans have had a huge kind of Africans, Caribbeans. We're not, oh, we're afraid of water. We don't have seafarers. We don't have pirates. So we were
Mhm.
sitting there, and my brother who always, because I lived in China, and my brother was like, yo, tell us that story. Tell the writing team the story. I said, tell the
Mhm.
story of what? Tell the twin story. I'm a twin. And
Hmm.
so when I was living in China, my Chinese father would always tell me this story that there were two Somali children, twins, that
Mhm.
were orphaned, that were raised in China and were cool, had great abilities, and were raised in certain like they picked up the language fast. They were really good athletically, martial arts and all that, and they grew up. And then they found out that their parents were pirates. These Somali twins, a boy and a girl, their parents were pirates, and
Mhm.
they went on this kind of odyssey to find their parents from China to Somalia. And I told the story, and my brother was just so hype about it. He's like, we got to turn that into a story. And I said, okay, let's take Somali pirates and put them in space. And that's what you have. One becomes a space cop,
Mhm.
this one. Another one becomes a space pirate, the woman with hijab. And so we just, again, culture telling is our primary
That's so dope.
Mhm.
That is so dope. I'm sorry.
focus.
I think that concept alone uh is dope. And because, and when you hit Pirates in Space, it made me think of Ta-Nehisi Coates' run on Black
Hmm.
Panther, where there was that arc where the Wakandas went to space,
Yep.
and they did their thing out there. They have their own thing. So like when I hear these type of stories, when I hear these type of characters, and there's something behind the characters,
Hmm.
which is also a major plus, and finding out that there's more to it. Like you mentioned, Pirates of the Caribbean, great movie, but where's the Caribbeans? Where are we at? We don't get seen. When you're finding out there's stories that we were seafaring pirates, we were out there. So, like cowboys, we were out there. If anything, we outnumbered the other ones, but that's not what society or most media will tell you. You
Mhm.
know, they don't. These are stories that need to be told, and I'm it's impressive that you called it culture telling because that's something that is essentially that would get lost when you're talking about our cultures. We could tell the stories all day, but when you hear about like the grandmothers and the great grandmothers and the grandfathers, and they tell you these stories, they're telling you stories from their childhood and their upbringing and why they do certain things. It's a lost, I don't want to say lost, it was a losing practice that is now getting shifted,
Mhm.
The
as is getting shifted.
medium is different.
Yep.
Yeah,
The medium, the way it's being told is shifting.
it's
Even the
still
way you
waiting.
tell Storm, when you're talking about Storm, I got really excited. You're like, oh, this person lived for years, a goddess. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, this is great. I can't wait to tell them about Red Hunter. Red Hunter is our newest comic. It's on Webtoon. And it's literally about an ancestral father that a group right now in northern Ghana trace their roots to. The Dagomba
Mhm.
tribe trace their roots to one guy who had this amazing power. Tahazi, Tohazie, Tahazi the Red Hunter. Real. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh wow, this is amazing. Like this is a character. What do we do with a character that's a true ancestral father? Because I don't know about y'all in the bird community, we be talking about calling on your ancestors. I'm calling cap because nobody knows the name of their ancestors. They're
Yeah.
not people are not digging. If you're gonna call your ancestors, know them by name. And I'm really emphatic or really about it because I can't accept superficial things like that. If we're gonna call on our ancestors and figure out the ancestral process and call on them to help us in different elements of our lives, we gotta like dig deep and know what's going on and take and go the distance. And so that's why I wrote Red Hunter. When we wrote Red Hunter, I thought to myself, okay, we have this ancestral hero, and then you look at the Dagomba now, it's maybe we can do it with almost like a Samurai Jack, where like in the beginning, essentially like he was a fighter, and then he kind of like he's connected to water. He falls asleep underground.
Mhm.
Hundreds of years pass, and he's woken up by the sound of a drum, and he emerges into the future, Neo Africa. And he's
Mhm.
like, "Where's my descendant?" He's a warmonger. He's a king, and his descendants is down to this little slum family with one eye, like this little tiny family. Their entire, all the descendants have kind of squandered the legacy, or there was infighting. So that was
Mhm.
all that's left, and he's
Mhm.
kind of figuring out his way. And so that's why when he said talk about Storm and talking about power and how there's this sort of immortality that Storm carries and how it just dominates the comics and how interesting it is. Here's a actual character that we took and use that same mentality. And so that's kind of what I'm excited about. Again, culture telling. I didn't create just some black person that has superpowers. We don't do that. We're like, okay, what is this tribe? And oh, it's a Dogombo. It's in northern Ghana. Okay, what is this? What it can do? This person has is a hunter, has shooting arrows. I said, okay, that's cool. What he used to, what has this? What this actual real person used to do in legend? And we take all that, just like Thor, and we
Mhm.
turn into something else. And so that's typically all we do throughout this entire multiverse is just search for content that actually exists. So there's points where it tells itself, and it's very real, right?
I like that.
Hmm.
I like that. No, it's good that you mentioned that because even um I remember Static Shock being on the air,
Yep.
and there was an episode where he was in Africa
Yes.
and you got to introduced to a version of Anansi the Spider,
Yeah, I love
Mhm.
and
that
which
episode.
whom I had read about when I was in elementary school. So when I see it, and I'm like, yo, I know who that is. And the stories that's behind it, and then seeing Orlando Jones portray that same character and seeing those type of characters have those backgrounds, you really using your imagination is not even passe at that point because you have something to build on, like you mentioned Storm or Thor. You have a character to build on who was at least to that nationality was real. Now and then you have us in the African diaspora, all these characters that, this is why I'm glad you're around, because you have characters that were, their legends might be getting washed away, or
Mhm.
they don't know who they're talking to, or you have no true connection to who you want to speak to.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have these stories about the Smiley Pirates and Tosi and the Red Hunter and all these other characters, and they actually have backgrounds to build off of, that makes a better story. It makes a longer lasting story, I should say. So yeah,
And it protects it from whitewashing, but that's just
that
a
too.
secret.
That
That's
too.
that's why I said we're moving from storytelling to culture telling, because like it kind of protects it from
It
from
does.
that. I don't want to
You,
like
you can say it. You can
No,
say
it
it.
does. It
You
does.
can
like
say
It
it.
does. It definitely does.
I, we have to we that's the reason why we do it. That's a big fear of mine. It's a
Mm-hmm.
big fear, and I thought to myself, okay, what's the best way? And I'm like, okay, if you tell a story on the continent, mine is maybe South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, all the
Mhm.
characters will be of African descent.
Right.
If you watched I don't know if you saw the Netflix series with that Queen Warrior.
My wife
What's
was actually watching that. Yes.
what's is not
I want to
it's not
say Naimi or
Nzinga, Queen Nzinga.
Nanzinga.
Nanzinga,
There you
Real
go. Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
person. Jada Pinkett is doing the narration in the beginning, which is interesting, and
Mhm.
it's like
It is
there's
interesting. It's very interesting.
I loved it. I watched the whole thing and I loved it because we already have a story for that, and it was like I, it again to me it was culture telling, and I saw all people of the I could tell if just basically people of African descent all in this film,
Mm-hmm.
right? Killing white people,
We have our stories.
right?
We
And
have our stories.
no,
Sometimes we won. Sometimes we won.
Yeah.
yeah, no, but I think to me again it was like if you ever go through a tough time, think about superhero comics and all those things that go into Captain America, all these people, the Superman that you wear on your head, the Batman you wear on your shirt, all these
Mhm.
things. What we're doing is we're borrowing the great things that they have, the attributes, and we hope that it can help embody who we are. Whether
Mhm.
it's super strength, whether it's the way you're thinking with your mind, the Batman, like there's things we're calling, we're almost doing ancestral calling with characters that don't look like us. And
Right.
so Queen and Jinga to me was that moment where it's like, how do you, how are you supposed to think, or how are you supposed to behave in a setting where you're being marginalized actively? What kind of mentality do you need to have? What
Yes.
kind of grit do you need to do? How do you call on Njinga? How do you
She
call on these folks?
that sister was
Mhm.
intense,
She was
Yeah.
intense. It was,
and
and
I
I,
loved it.
and the reason I loved it too is because can anyone, she lost her son. Like some
Mhm.
of the hardest things.
The
Um,
decisions she had to make,
Right.
you would not have. No
yeah,
normal person could have made those decisions that she made.
exactly. And I think we hail Batman being gully, right?
Mhm.
Batman will make those hard decisions, like in front of
Yeah, he does.
you know,
Yeah.
and I think I believe that we need to shift from that and start looking at those people that actually do exist. And
Mhm.
and then Nancy was a great example. And Nancy, that episode is burned in my memory because
Yeah.
it was such an amazing episode. He's an actual trickster god from West Africa. By the way,
Mhm.
Nancy is the trickster god of Ghana.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To come over, and of course, it's always been there.
Yeah.
Nancy's always been in the black community in the US and around. It's always been there. It's so old. It's always been there, and then it makes it in Static Shock.
Mhm.
And I think they did one other episode, Return with Nancy, and it was amazing. But
Yeah.
one thing I
Mhm.
saw is that again these are our archetypes. People love the Joker, and I'm like, Joker's not a real trickster. It's an American understanding of what a trickster is, but we
Mhm.
do like it. And I think what we need to understand is that why did we hear about Nancy? Why do African people of African descent like a character that lies, mess around, plays with language,
Mhm.
shape shifts, all this kind of shifty behavior? Why? And there's something core to it that we people of African descent we like when a small animal uses everything at its disposal to get over a bigger animal, and we respect that. And like bringing trickster gods and properly depicting them and putting them in your stories and then celebrating them, I think is amazing. I think it's a core to who we are. And sometimes it might feel like, oh, like why do you like a character that does things like that? And it's like I think that's something as a community we're like, okay, we got to think about that. Like why?
But it's also brilliant storytelling too, because that's the other part. Because we've said it many times in the show, we've sat there and said, you know, when you bring in content stories that are aligned with us that normally would not make it to the mainstream, number one, it's attractive because that's what Anansi was in American Gods. His, along with Orlando Jones, and that Orlando Jones actually written his speeches for 2 of the episodes. Albeit we're scene stealers, but at the same time, the stories that go along with it, the way that he actually intertwined Anansi in as far as, you know, speaking truth, but also saying, well, look, you guys are going to make it off this boat, but nobody else can make it off this boat. So it is the trickster part of it, but at the same time, it's interjecting realism, it's interjecting history, and at the same time, it's history that is not being readily available to us in the public school system or charter, public, private, wherever you're at. It's not available. So that's also the attraction behind a lot of these stories, is that not a lot of people knew that there were African goddesses and deities. Not everybody knew that we had tricksters, that we had gods of iron, thunder, wisdom, water. I'm trying to think of all of them on the top of my head as I'm going along. There's like well over
Namiwata, mermaid.
Yeah, they go on as far as where I mean, some of them are elemental, some of them represent man, some of them represent destruction, some of them represent peace. It's amazing that as creators such as yourselves really give us stories like that. It actually, like I hope it does, it encourages people to go back and say, where did you get that from? And a gentleman like yourself can sit there and say, well, I'm glad you asked. Let me point you in this direction. So that's where I always say, yes, our history as a people should always be celebrated and told to the next generation after that. But the creative way of doing that through comic books has always come through comics and multimedia, and not just comics, but anime and live action, things of that nature. The fact that it's told that way keeps it alive. And even more so, you are reaching kids as well as adults. So that's also the part there too, because you're really killing 3 birds with 1 stone. You're introducing a new dynamic because there's plenty of content there that you can actually make stories off of. And they're realistic. You don't have to add anything. You don't have to Hollywoodize anything. You can literally tell the story as it is, and it writes itself. And on top of that, it is relatable because, again, where else outside of the library are you gonna find out about African deities? You'd be hard pressed. You would be very fortunate to have those in your life that could tell you about it, or you'll be very fortunate to have a public library that carries those books. That's just being honest. Even though outside the internet, there are multiple sources out there, but I'm sorry, what do you think, Kira?
I said except Florida.
Florida.
Florida got it rough right now. Florida's underwater right now.
They got something going on. I don't know what they got going on.
I think part 2 of the flood just hit Florida because God went to DeSantis and said, "Oh, really? Send in the flood. Send the water."
Jesus.
There's plenty of it around there. Plenty.
If I start seeing frogs pop up in Florida, I'm done. Nope.
So, Lady Mandalore, you heard something?
No. I was letting Will
Oh,
going,
no,
yeah, no, I'm just making a bad joke.
no, it's not a bad joke.
That's not a bad joke. I just not thought about that. That would explain Florida right now. You dissed African American history. Some. I was gonna say, wait a minute.
No good comes from that.
You dissed Ocean, so I'm like, I don't know if you want to piss her off because if I'm correct, she kind of drowned an entire continent. So
Yeah.
I don't think you want to tick that particular guy off.
No.
So you mentioned your culture telling of your stories and of your characters.
Yeah.
Now you also mentioned anime.
Yeah, anime's big. Anime's no, we just as you know, Black Spartan said, all we do is take what exists and then we look at anime and say, how do they depict this? Because if you look at anime, and you gotta put respect on anime because it's an art form that's gone for a long time. They've been depicting their culture for how many years?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they ignore us and they start depicting European culture, aka Attack on Titan, which is great, but still, I don't know why they just skip over us. Like Studio Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki, I love Hayao Miyazaki, totally skipped over us. Most Japanese creators skip over us. I mean, they skipped over to Brazil with Michiko and Hachin. Like they just right,
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
So, but anime to me, Akira, like anime is when you look at anime and look at comics, they provide examples on how you can take anything that's pre-existing, even your own family history, and make it into something that's cinematic, that's amazing, that's just out of this world. And that's the core of why we do anime. And also a lot of anime is based on Shinto beliefs. When we did our research, anime is based on Shinto beliefs, and Shinto beliefs is animals talking and being gods.
Yeah.
Where is there a place where animals talking and being gods is a major? Oh, right, African traditional religion, animism. So it's a no-brainer. So we just like, oh, animism, Shinto beliefs, okay, whatever they're nine-tailed fox. We'll just be running back and forth. If you have ninjas, then we have mongoose, these African magical juju practitioners. We just kept going back and forth down the hall of creation. Whatever we saw in anime, we just look for the equivalent on the continent, and that's really what we've been doing. And it's been a big inspiration. Dragon Ball, of course, major inspiration. A lot of these anime has kind of shown us, I think, has shown creators how they can think about content.
Yeah.
When you mentioned Dragon Ball, a lot of people that don't really know, like if you think what was it, Journey into the West is that story, and it's like it's every bit of Dragon Ball Z embellished, of course, so way embellished, right? Way embellished. So and you're right, when you look at anime, it does involve a lot of their culture in some form or fashion. It involves their culture, and it's something that we need for our very own, to tell our stories and to tell our culture. So because it's there, it's literally there waiting to be told.
Yeah. Have you seen Rurouni Kenshin? Y'all watch that?
Yes.
Amazing historical fiction. You wanted to go to the Meiji era. Like it was like a study in the Meiji era. It was amazing. And if you watch anime, what makes you want to do? It makes you want to go to Japan. So that's what I mean, I don't know what other creators want to do, but what I know what we want to do is that we hope that by reading our content or watching our content, you want to go to that country. That's my only problem with Black Panther. There is no Wakanda. It doesn't exist. I didn't know why you can't just say Tanzania. Why can't you just say the name of the damn place they're based on? Like, just say it. It's there. There's a T'Challa Lake right there.
I think it's advertising problems, because that's what it is. Because Wakanda makes you feel happy, makes you feel proud. Tanzania, I got nothing. That's what he said.
Is a great.
I mean, it's just like Sierra Leone. People hear Sierra Leone, and I have friends and family that are from there. Beautiful country, but talk to anybody outside of it that doesn't really have a worldview, they're gonna immediately go to the Kanye West song and immediately think blood diamonds. Think about the blood diamond trade and how that happened. And I'm just like, that's not how that country is at all. It's actually very advanced. So
Yeah.
so it's
I
like,
could
but if
see-
you
yeah.
get those folks that just, like I said, it just goes back to, number one, education, number one, being informed.
Yeah.
So if you're not educated or you're not informed, then you're gonna go off of, like you said, it's what's put out there. Like, let's be honest, if we're really gonna think of anything that we can relate to from a cartoonish standpoint, the earliest things would probably be like, this is probably showing my age. You remember Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids?
Yeah.
And that was possibly, and I can say arguably, because I'm pretty sure I'm missing one or two cartoons. That's probably the closest we've ever gotten to of having something we can relate to that had zero substance. Sure, entertaining as hell, yes. Funny, yes. Do you remember anything from it?
No.
Not a goddamn thing. So-
But you know what though? I'll take a Fat Albert universe, like seeing them, like take it like Dragon Ball Super and expand it. That's all I'm saying. The reason we have this multiverse and we call it the world's largest black comic universe is because I looked at milestones and I was like, the work wasn't complete.
Yeah.
We had great stuff, but it wasn't complete. And then you keep looking around for folks what they have done in the past, and no one has quite got the model. And then all of a sudden you have Marvel Universe starts exploding. Attack on Titan starts exploding. You have Dragon Ball Super out of nowhere exploding. You have all these stories where there's this intelligent, technical creation that's happening that makes you go deep and immerse yourself in it. And if Fat Albert went to Mars, I would watch it. I was like, how did we get here? How did we get? Is it the guy with the beanie? Like, how did he find something?
Like Donald. But that's the thing though. It's like at the time of that coming out, it was more entertaining than actually grabbing. So let's be honest, as animation moved forward in Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z had their viral moments. Attack on Titan, almost every episode was a viral moment, especially when it first came out and its graphic nature, and it grabbed people and literally grabbed people. So every one of those things, it always had to have a moment that makes it stand out. And I'm glad that you mentioned Milestone, because Milestone to me was always one of those. It could have actually been Milestone could have been what Harlem Nights was for us in movies. It could have been for comics, just because a Blood Syndicate of Icon, of Hardware, of Static, and of Icon and Rocket. Just those four alone, you could literally build the Milestone universe around and tell multiple stories. But it's always, like you said, I always say it's this. I like to call it the glass ceiling, because if you ever have because it's amazing if you had 20 years ago said what MCU did now. Let's build a cinematic universe. It's unheard of. Let me take a bunch of movies telling one story. Unheard of. You tell this to the money people. How much do you need from us? And what do you think we're going to get back? And you hope this works? 20 years ago, people would have called you nuts. Now, Brinks trucks back up. Could we say the same thing about because everybody, when MCU came out, DC tried, but when Milestone came out, when the documentary came out, everybody kept hoping. It's like, is this finally gonna be the hurdle that gets them over? Are we gonna finally get to see some of these heroes and villains finally transcend over to the movie side? And there was a little bit of buzz, then there was nothing.
Yep.
It was almost like all you can remember was, I'll never forget. I was like, someone said casting for Icon.
Yeah.
We are doing castings for Icon and Hardware. That lasted 2 weeks.
Yep.
And it's almost like, what happened? And it's hard. And the best way to say it is this: not a lot of people know who Icon is.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, we have plenty of friends out there. Hellspawn cosplay, to name one, who cosplays as him. There's not too many people who know who Hardware is. Hardware was literally better than Tony Stark, but how many people know who Hardware is outside of this room right now?
Right.
or even Icon, which again, don't know anybody, but everybody knows Static. Why do we know Static? WB, because Static Shock,
Yeah, I love
because
Static Shock.
that was a long running cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon
Yeah.
that did very well across all statistics. Sorry, words are leaving me right now.
That baby
All
brain.
Demographics. I got you.
And child brain is real. Child brain is so real. But the point I'm getting to is just that it's amazing how some things get so much it gets so much as far as buzz going. And then when you finally have something that comes up and it's just like, could this finally turn the corner to where it does open the door? Just like Black Sands opened the door to get to get to multi-ink deal, to get those big names, because that's what it was. To see a guy like Kevin Hart go, no, this is great. This is exactly what I want my kids to see, to get that type of level of funding, or to finally have a movie company go, you know what would be great? A Static movie.
Yeah.
I would, and again, I hope in the James Gunn DC Studios universe, I hope that trigger gets pulled.
Yeah.
Because they have the rights. I hope that trigger gets pulled. I hope that James Gunn does a big FU to whoever says no to this and decides to produce it. I hope he does, because it opens the door for companies and productions such as yourselves to sit there and say, we can do it too. We just want to be able to. We just want the opportunity, because that's really what it is. It's this proverbial wall that some people are sitting there saying, because they said about Wakanda Forever, that people of color cannot make successful movies.
Wow.
And that still sticks with me. That they sat there. It wasn't. They never said who it was. But the actors in that movie sat there and all said the same thing. They were told by folks in influential areas, thought that movie would not do well because of its diversified cast. And they turned around and did a big FU in the box sales to that movie. But unfortunately, it's that same type of thinking that prevents a lot of other creations, comics, animes, shows from being done. Simply put, because as much as we are used, depicted, imitated, all the above, us being at the forefront of it still isn't a moneymaker to those that ultimately could open the doors.
I'll say my
go ahead.
my opinion on that. I think it goes back to Ubuntu. I remember there was someone that was saying something that there's in the Jewish community they have a similar word, but it means we'll only if you selling it, we will buy it. And he said, and the person was saying that is an Ubuntu community. Basically, if you're selling or doing some type of content, we will buy it, regardless of the the condition or the service. Like almost a Jamaican Caribbean restaurant. That service, whoo boy! Regardless of that, you're gonna sit and get that oxtail. You're gonna bite the bullet and pay.
I'm gonna get my black card revoked. I've never had oxtail, but go ahead.
Kira, don't do it. Don't do it, Lady Mandalore.
Look, I will be honest. I've never had it, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it until I actually have some. I've never had oxtail, so
she said, "How dare you?"
And you live closer to the south than I do, and you've never had.
Yes, I've never had oxtail. I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, we got to get together.
I think that's important. I think so basically what we do as a people, as a community, is that if we get bad service or the thing is bad, we purchase the comic, there's some off, we'll go on social media and be like, yo, look at this thing. It's not totally tarnish it. That's
You're
not
right.
Ubuntu. And I think if you have Ubuntu, it'll be a no-brainer to people who thinking only in money, because it's like, oh, this billion-dollar demographic loves this stuff and will continuously buy in that stuff. It's the same reason why there's Chinatowns and not Africa towns or whatever. or chocolate
I mean,
cities. Only chocolate
Makes a
city I've been to was
very
Palm Springs.
strong point.
you got a point because
This
you
Makes
look
a
at,
very strong point.
look at the first Black Panther. How many? It's funny that you say that because the more I think about that, when Black Panther first came out, how many syndicated, really syndicated Black radio stations, television, movie shows, I'm sorry, television shows, radio, satellite radio, they were all saying the same thing. We must support Black Panther. I mean, even your syndicated radio shows, like The Breakfast Club, you even had Charlamagne the God say, "Oh, we need to support this. This is the first time that we'll be able to see a Black hero on cinematic." And I'm like, wait a second. First off, you're wrong because it was not the first Black hero on
we always have Meteor Man.
Yeah, Meteor Man was the first. Let's get that right. Meteor Man was always the first, but it's amazing the level of free advertisement that Disney never had to pay for.
Oh yeah, because it became mandatory.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. The whole Village mentality was we had to show this positive image, even though it really isn't produced. I said that was the one thing that kind of
it's a two-sided coin.
Yeah,
it's a two-sided coin. Like we got what it was doing, but at the same time, and don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Black Panther fan. Always have been.
Yeah.
Prior to the movie, I've been in the trenches, you know. So I came up in the Priest era, and Christopher Priest runs, So I've been there, and knowing that type of content that is out here, like we need that same energy that we need to support. We need to support. We need to support. We need that same energy across the board of saying, hey, check out Kolanut Productions. Check out Wingless Comics. Check out, check out right. Or Concrete, and check these people out because it's there. The content is there. We need to support it. Hence why I have the show.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I agree with you on that. It's just that when you think about it, yes, the Village mentality. It's like if we all know the movie Guy. Before internet took us over and gave us streaming, we all knew who the movie CD guy was in your area. Did we not support him when we didn't want to feel like paying $20 to go to a movie theater, but we gladly paid $10 for a CD and hoped to God it was clear?
Or that it was the one you paid for?
Or that was I mean, we supported the movie dude. The same way we supported Mrs. Fletcher when she sold freeze cups and candies for 25 cents. That woman saved the neighborhood and nobody knew. But the point I'm making is, like you said, it's honestly about support. That like again, with Kolanut Productions such as yourselves and others that we named, it shouldn't be criticism. If anything, let criticism come later when you're established. Now, as long as you ain't cussing nobody out. If you ain't cussing nobody out and just basically be an ass, okay, cool. But let everybody give you a fair shot. It's like if I never tried oxtail, which I just admitted about 10 seconds ago, and let's just say somebody in Tennessee,
Lady Mandalore is trying her hardest.
I know. I'm using this as an example because she ready.
There's a spot across the street from me right now.
I get it.
You're ready to cuss me out.
I'm sad for you, is what I am. I'm sad for you.
But the point I'm making, like, use me for an example. Never had oxtail. Let's just say in my home state of Tennessee, for those that are watching, I turn around and get like 20 places. Will, you never had oxtail? Here, go here, go here, go here, go here. Let's just say I get 5 places to go try oxtail. Do I try all 5 places? Yes, because I want to know who's got the best oxtail. Am I going to down who has the worst oxtail? No. But at the same time, I'm still, if someone asks for where the best oxtail in Tennessee is, I'll give them 5 locations. I'm giving those 5 locations 5 equal chances because what may have not been a good experience for me may actually be a great experience for somebody else. So you're still supporting.
Yeah. Our job, Lady Mandalore, is to make sure Will gets a serving of oxtails with rice and peas and cabbage.
Wait, are you coming to Blurred? You're not coming to BlurredCon, correct?
I can't go nowhere at least for about a good 9 months.
We'll figure this out. I'll ship something down to you.
We'll get it.
I was gonna say until Obi can at least he's one. I'm gonna be at home living vicariously through y'all.
Look,
Oh no,
look, Lady
that plate's
Mandalore.
going to get to. I don't think you understand.
Yeah,
That plate is going.
this
to
is
get
no
to
bucket
you.
of spaghetti. I tell you this much.
Okay.
Hey, so
But
Lady Mandalore,
I do want to say I feel like
Mhm.
I'm gonna challenge. I'm just gonna challenge one thing. I swear to God, just one thing. I'm not
go
even.
ahead.
I promise.
She's my
It-
weapons master, by the way. So,
I I'm challenging your statement that the Black community does negatively critique, at least in this realm, the comic book industry, or something that is being put forth in the Black community. I think that is more reserved, like you said, for service, not necessarily for comic books, because I feel like that is something that's very niche and not talked about at all within our community. I think the issue is that we don't talk at all about our Black comic book creators. I've been having conversations for weeks now within my little tribe of people about where can I go to find comics? Who can I look at? Has anybody read these stories? Nobody can tell me anything. I know more than the people I'm asking. So I think the issue is to actually start getting a listing going, or at least a conversation going amongst all of us, saying, okay, like Will said, go to this place, try this one. Oh, if you're into this type of anime, you're gonna probably like this one. The drawing on this one is super clean, it's nice.
Mm.
That might draw you more into the story. I don't think those conversations are happening. I don't think anybody's bad mouthing anybody
but
overtly. I
it's
just
just the
think we're
way
not
they.
having a conversation at all.
Yeah,
Mm.
not
So
it's not
information gap.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that's the best way to put it. That's the best way to put
Yeah.
it. There's an information gap because
Eh.
you don't know. This is why I create this platform. I think I've said it in every show. I created this platform just for partially this reason, is to put that shine, put that spotlight on these POC creatives who have this content, who say, hey, everybody gets a fair one. When they come here, you got something. I want to talk to you about it. I want to see what you got. Whether you're a comic book artist and writer to a novelist, I want to know about it. We've been pushing so many books. It's ridiculous. I was like, I'm starting to. My indie stuff is starting to
Oh wow.
balance. Yeah, I'm waiting on mine.
Just on
I'm,
site.
I'm-
I got
yeah,
it.
I'm waiting on mine. I ordered mine. I'm waiting on mine. So, so we have people like you, like yourself, and other people. I'm working on some with Wingless Comics, so they can come on. I shouted out Malachi Bailey, who's over there with her, and Aaron Brown with her novels, and Cerise Murphy, Brashia Anglin here in Cleveland. They're dope projects, and they're dope content that we don't get these stories. Don't get us wrong, we reread our Marvel and our DC and our images and stuff like that, but
May the
in the
Lord,
same breath,
Lord open.
That's that part right there.
yeah, we love
I'm
it because, but we at the same time, when you're getting Guardians of the Homie, when you're
Oh,
getting
yeah.
Kolanut Productions, and when you're getting all these other, when you're getting her, and you're getting Jason Michael Primrose and his writing, we want more of that, because it draws. There's a reason why we celebrated Milestone, because it was like we were seeing us. And like you said, it was one thing missing. It was something missing. You're bringing that to the table. Just like possibly this is the button right here. And this is how we can talk about it, and this is how we can, and let's kind of walk away from not just storytelling, but let's walk into culture telling, because once again, you're seeing a need of telling our culture. You're seeing a need of saying, that's all good and all, but let's talk about this person who's real and comes from a real background. And because once again, if they can do it with Thor and Hercules, why can't we do it with our own?
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll say this. I, I agree with you, lady man. Go ahead.
No, you're
Sorry,
good. Go ahead.
did someone say something? Okay, I hear what you're saying, Lady Mandalore, the information gap, and I equally challenge. I like to think in Vegeta sometime. Like he's like in my head, the pride of a Saiyan. He's like it's ridiculous how all about Saiyans he is,
Mhm.
and I have not met that type of energy in the community. We like there's no one that I don't think I've met one blurred who was like, I'm exclusive this type of content, like the books you held up. Like I don't read none of that. I don't want no Marvel. I don't want no DC. I see what y'all doing. I'm not with it. Disney, you messed up. Studio Ghibli messed up. All y'all messed up. I'm only reading and consuming this. Pride of a person of African descent, and they sneer at other content. That's not happening.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because when you said Vegeta, I just think of a guy sitting there,
Yeah,
eyebrows arched, gruff all day long.
What do you know of pride?
And the reason is, in the beginning, we talked about all the stuff that Marvel and DC is coming out with. I waited, and I could see there's my Vegeta in me just waiting.
I
with
want
this
this.
eyebrows. When are we gonna talk about stuff that like because I feel let down by them. I feel they've contributed to um, uh, making a lot of our folks of African descent have low self-esteem, and I've never seen or come across the Vegeta of the blur community, and I think that's what's necessary because like then that they could continue to come out with the content. We're folk are still consuming other content from indie and all the other creators, but we're still consuming Superman. We're still consuming all these big names, and we're the largest consumers of it. We're the largest consumers of it.
So true.
So why we do these things where we do these blackouts? Let's get off TikTok. Let's get off social media. Let you see how it is when we're not there to consume. We've never done that for multimedia content. We've never been like, all right, DC, you're done. For the next 9 months, we're not going to look at any of your stuff.
Black Spartan is like, oh, I think
I know.
I'm knocking on that door.
I'm gonna tell
right
you
now.
why. It's not, I'm gonna tell you because it is I'm gonna tell you why. Because number one, it is a beautiful concept. Here's where your crux is gonna be. Because you're telling the same group of individuals, which would all agree with you, but at the same time, we all have multiple different fandoms. Like, would I love to see would I love to see more black content? Would I love to see because I'm not gonna lie to you, I want to see a Shango comic. I want to see one, but I want to see it done well. And I want to see it done well to the point to where I can sit there and be like, you thought that deity was bad? Let me show you what this one does. I would love to see that. But at the same time, with indie and other creators such as yourselves, it's not a lot of real estate in the world of advertising because unfortunately, Marvel's a big machine. DC's a big machine. IDC, not as big as Marvel or DC, but still a big machine itself just because of a few titles that if they said such titles dropped, instant firestorm. The problem has always been getting things out there. You can write the stories all day, but if you turn around and said, hey, we want Marvel or DC to understand that we control basically what you put out. You can put all the content out in the world. You can put all the content out there in the world that you want, but without our dollars, you really ain't shit.
I mean, it shows in sales.
Yeah,
it shows in sales. You come out with a project of a character, and you would think it would do well, but then it shuts down after what 4 or 5 issues, you
Yeah.
know, and
Like, I
it's
give you,
because
like-
it's underselling, you know.
Like, I'll give you one example. The Spider-Man ran by Zeb Wells was supposed to be given a 15-issue run, didn't make it past 5.
Yeah.
Because
It was bad.
there's a because it was but again, something was supposed to be given 12 issues, which is normally a longer comic book run, didn't make it past issue 5. They pulled it. Again, that's not the only time. Batman's had issues pulled, Superman's had issues pulled.
Wonder Woman, all of them have.
Pretty much every comic book character
Everybody takes
has had
L's.
issues pulled.
Yeah.
But it goes back to sales. Now, I would challenge that because I would say this instead of saying a blackout, because yes, a blackout will be effective, but what will be more effective is that what if indie creators had the same advertising backing as a Jay-Z Rockefeller advertising platform? Because that right there is the key, because they can reach people, not just our people, because granted, within our own circles of blurs and nerds, we can reach multiple people, true. But an advertising group with that type of financial backing and connections that can go across ads on games, on apps, on television, pretty much anywhere that receives a signal. Imagine that type of advertising coverage, and you're doing your comic and saying and showing something like, I hate to say this because we just got to talk about it. When Black Sands showed their first 45 seconds of anime content, and it looked like Dragon Ball Z, sounded like Dragon Ball Z, but it was actually black, and everybody's like, holy crap, what is it? What is this? The moment you get someone's eyes on it and go, holy crap, what is this? All those advertising dollars just paid themselves. Now you're sending traffic to wherever your stuff is, and that's what gets the buzz going. So I would challenge that in saying it's just the fact of a strategy on targeting not only consumers, but just how many people can you reach and what's the most effective way to do that? Because that right there is the key to where people will know your comics, and then also at the same time where 10 years later people will sit there and go, if Kolanut Productions just put out another comic and did very little advertising, but yet everybody knows about it. That's the difference between actually being established versus you're trying to get buzz. But in order to get buzz, you do have to have some sort of machine behind you. Unfortunately, Marvel and DC have that.
Well, I agree with you, but again, I'll challenge you because I remember when Luke Cage came out on, was it Netflix?
Yeah.
And the server went down.
Yeah.
I will never forget that. I was like, I can't see it. I was like, oh, everyone's like, the server's down. So many people of African descent flooded that streaming platform. Their server went down.
Yeah.
What's up?
No, I was gonna say, you're right.
It was crazy. It was a moment of like, wow, that's our possibility. That's what we can do. And it wasn't, I mean, there's some advertising, but it was literally the community has structures and machinery and technology in play to get information out so quickly and at such a high rate that it's beyond algorithm. Algorithms can't capture it. And it's like Milestone and different people don't know how to turn it on. Sometimes it just turns itself on all of a sudden. Like when I have my mom's from the village. My mom's from the village, zero education, older. When she's talking to me about Black Panther and like when I need to go get tickets, when she's completely from even a language perspective, she speaks Igbo to me. It's talking about watching Black Panther as if it was a thing that she must do. That's when I was like, oh, okay, that's the power of a saying. That's the power of the community. It has one, it can spread news very quickly. Two, it can also be the thing that does sign off. And all I'm saying is that let's look at mixtapes. Remember the datpiff.com? There's a place for indie, not indie, but like anybody who can just spit on beats. There's no DatPiff for indie comic creators.
Ooh.
That's true. I mean, you got it right. I mean, when you look at mixtapes, I mean, you had mixtapes, SoundCloud, DJ Dogs. I get it.
Chris, you don't have the time. You don't have the time. You
I mean, don't
have
get me
the
wrong, I
time.
get that, but that's what I'm saying.
It's like it's another leg. I need to add another team member.
That's the thing about it. It's just that I always I can't take credit for this. A friend of mine said this. He always said that he said that there needs to be a black flea market for comics.
It does.
Because at a flea market, you could find anything and everything. And at the same time,
Lady
I know
Mandela has
Kira.
something.
Go ahead,
She
you're
has
about to
something.
say it. Go ahead,
She has
Kira. I know
something.
you're about to say it.
No, wait, I can't say anything. I have my back to the thing, and I didn't hear you. Wasn't listening. Please continue.
So, while she's looking and showing
Okay,
that.
yeah,
I
yes.
get it, making it be sad. That's one
That's-
time a year.
That was last week.
Yeah, one time a
There's
year.
One thing
But they're across the country. They are across the country.
There's starting to be a lot of
fire.
there's a lot of black owned comic book conventions geared towards us. It might sell all the stuff, but you have the writers, you have the artists, you have content of various type from us that's starting to pop up at these conventions, because once again, when you have this type of book, when you have this type of content to put out, it's really hard, especially for brick and mortar stores, to find. Say, if somebody said, I want to get Guardians of the Hope, or I want to get one of these books from Kolanut Productions, where can I get it? I might physically want to put my hands on this book like today, and they may not carry it. Not everybody has the ability. You really have to hunt high and low for like Rodney Barnes' Blackula or Philadelphia, for these books to say, who has this? I want that. Or the book Black. I want, I need that. I want it. Where's it at? Where can I find it? Where can I get all this stuff? So I think it makes it, there's several hurdles. And because we're not lacking in content, that's for sure.
That's the one thing that I think we can all agree with. There is plenty for us to go into to honestly tell for a very, very, very long time. It's just, it always comes down to execution, how you execute it, and ultimately, I hate to say it because it always comes back to it, money.
Right.
It's money has always been funding has always been the divine factor in how far or how quickly you can get to your end goal. Because if you do have enough to get yourself there, or to get the idea of where you're trying to get to there, cool. But if you're trying to go like this, again, also let me also say this, there's nothing wrong with Kickstarters, GoFundMes, because again, that's just another way to connect to your target audience. Because if you can get them, they share it, again, brings more to you. So more power to you on that.
Congratulations to Midnight Comics for meeting their
Nice.
they met their goal. They didn't even make it to the show yet for next week, and they met their goal already. I'm like, you still coming on? So
I was gonna say they didn't even need 50 people to meet that $10,000 goal. It was I think it was 38.
Yeah.
And it's like, because people believe in the content, they believe in the product, and this is something that we really are thirsty for. Like, we're thirsty for like Kolanut Productions. We're thirsty for Wingless. We're thirsty for Malachi Bailey and her. We're thirsty, because we want our stories out there now.
It's a global thing.
It is.
Have y'all been to Lagos Comic-Con?
No. Oh no.
Exactly.
Wait, hold on. I can't. I'm not allowed to go.
Wait, why?
I'm not allowed to go.
Are you Nigerian or what's going on?
That's a look away.
80%.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to go. I won't make it back.
I mean, Lagos is going through some things too, but no. The reason I mentioned Lagos Comic Con is that I don't. The Vegeta in me is like, you don't know how big the community, the blurred community is.
No,
from a global.
Nigerians, no,
Oh,
all of
they
y'all.
are.
It's
Yeah.
huge.
It's the I think the content in the blur community, and this stretches across just the medium itself, not just comics, but in media like television and music, like even on Netflix. My wife watches a ton of Africans based shows
Blood and Water.
and movies.
Hollywood.
Oh God, yes, you know, and that's what I'm like.
joint.
I will walk through the room and I'm like, what are you watching? You know, like because I like the Nzinga joint. I'm like, I know I read about her years ago. I'm like, yo, when was this on? You weren't going to tell me, you know? And so it was one of those things, you know. I'm like, you know, and she soaked it up, and my little one, she soaked it up, you know. So it was just like, I need that. So Obi Chuku,
Yeah.
where can they find you? Where can they find Kolanut
Yeah.
Productions?
Is it possible you could share a screen and go to Webtoon and type in Kolanut Productions? So
Yeah,
we
why
can
we
use that.
yeah, let's do that.
Since we're talking about an information gap, let's
I
let's
stay on Webtoon, so I kind of already have it pulled over my side. But go
all
ahead.
right, perfect. No,
so while you're talking, I'll go ahead and pull that up.
let's to close the information gap. We thought long and hard, and allowing using the platforms of people who are not of African descent, like Webtoons, was the method we decided to move forward. We were on Black Sands app. It was great to be in. I call it it was like what's that? Not MTV. It was like what is that? What's that black channel that used to be on back in the day?
BET.
It was like the BET of comics. That's what I called it. I called Black Sands at the BET of comics. It was like a bunch of creators of African descent, all putting up content. I was doing that for a while, but it wasn't getting enough. There's some technological components that I can tell. I work in technology, and I was like, oof, if they started with a mobile app, which is great, but they didn't make it into a web app. If you're making a web app, you're searchable on Google. There's all these technical things. I was like, it's lacking. But I did it. It was great to be in that community and hear the conversations going on there. But ultimately, can you click all results? No, more. Can you click more in the bottom right hand corner?
Oh, more. Okay.
More, yeah.
There we go.
More. There you go. Yeah, there you go. So we ultimately went back to Webtoons because Webtoons is a web app. And from an information gap, a web app means it's an application that's on the web with the URL. And because it's on the web, it's searchable. So if you have a story called Queen Nzinga the Great, like all Queen Nzinga will come up, but then a Webtoon, if your SEO is good, will come up. And that makes you more searchable. So it closes the information gap. That's why I went back to Webtoon. If you're just a mobile app, you can't search a mobile app on Google.
Right.
So we went back to Webtoon and we're putting our entire universe. We're gonna shock Webtoon by having the most content, put our all universe. And so this is Red Hunter. And Red Hunter, you can go back to the first episode. This is our latest one. Red Hunter, when we were getting Red Hunter ready, I'm like, okay, we're going back to Webtoon so that anyone around the world can read this comic. So Red Hunter was in our new comics, and we start off again with a very African style storytelling. We don't go once upon a time. We go story, story, story. That's how we start a story. And so we do that here. And then if you read this in a Samurai Jack long ago, in old Africa, in the 15th century, I, Tohazi, chief of the Gomba, you know that Samurai Jack Aku sound. That's literally what's happening here. The greatest hunter of all, waged war to root out evil. And so we're telling this kind of story in this like Ethiopian scroll. And it starts with him here where he's talking about one day I died in battle, like I always do. Kind of like Samurai Jack, where he's fighting and then he's doing his usual thing and then something changes. So this story,
dope.
Yeah. Tohazi, the thing about Tohazi, he's all about water. And so that's where he gets his immortality. But the thing about the Dagomba people, they're big on drums. So through the drums, their descendant calls upon Tohazi through the drums. And he hears it. And this Dexter's Laboratory kind of came through that. Because you know, remember that Dexter's Laboratory movie? Yeah, so then he emerged out the ground. kind of like uh
Mm.
um the, um Samurai Jack, and then right here a little bit of Wakanda for Dagomba Forever. I was like, let's say an actual culture and say for Dagomba Forever. So this is a story where we pushed out there as our best content, but also as a part of the one of our universe. And at the bottom,
Mhm.
we start to talk about other stories. So if you go back to the webtoon, click to the okay, click Kolanut Productions.
Mm, mm, mm.
Actually, let's click the webtoon. Let me walk you through. Click the webtoon logo. I want to walk people through this. Click the actual webtoon logo in the top left hand corner. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Now, what do you see? No people of African descent.
Right.
This is your typical webtoon experience. Sometimes you
Mhm.
might see some dope stuff by Ordeal, that Caribbean Trinidadian author. She's blowing up. Kudos to Ordeal. But this is what you see
Right.
all the way through. Now,
That is a
what we
lot.
want to guide you is for the information. Yeah, you see it, and then maybe you see some spots of color. But if you go to the top right hand corner at the top, and our way we guide is that if you click the search bar, yeah, type in Kolanut, enter or search,
Here we go.
you immediately will come here. And in our
Mhm.
canvas, we have 27 titles. We put 27 titles online. All these stories are from Kolanut, and they
Okay.
span genre, romance, horror, comedy, sci-fi. Red Hunter is more of a kind of like a fantasy action. We have Six Love Language, which is a pandemic romance. We have The Girl with No Face. If you go to number two, click the second one, the little number two,
Number two.
yeah, on the
It's
bottom,
oh,
the
bottom.
second result.
Oh,
Yeah, go there on the bottom. Number two. Yeah. Number two, you see more content. Kisi Electron Girl is our best title. We have chapter 2 on there. We have Rumble in the Jungle about African martial arts. Because we
Mhm.
talked about Rumble in the Jungle is when Muhammad Ali fought in the DRC against Joe Frazier. I mean, was it Joe Frazier or George
yeah.
Foreman?
No, he
It
was
was
right.
Fraser. It
He
was
Joe
was right.
Fraser.
Frazier. Joe
It was
Frazier.
Fraser.
Really, really big thing. So we built upon that. There's Seven Galaxies. It's Somali space pirates. So we take we take all this and we put it on here. And so this is where if you go to Webtoon, type in Colonut, you'll see all these stories. Any stories that come out to you, like in this picture, if anything sticks out to you, click it. This is that for example. Between the two pages, what clicks out to you? Great
Just
one. Click
Mhm.
that one. 16 Strikes. 16 Strikes is about all the African warlords. Charles Taylor, Idi Amin, Gaddafi. So we it's a crazy story of a pacifist that has the power of a warlord in the shape of a Shinigami, just
this
like Death
art
Note.
is very, very clean.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not all over the place. It's not throwing you off. It's bright because I'm liking these colors.
Yep.
Uh
Yeah, so this one is a really interesting story, and so even with this, when you come here and you get into the story and you get into this world, from here after you read a couple of them, if you and this is Charles Taylor, like we were like, if you can talk, if Japanese can talk about their warlords, why can't we?
Mhm.
Even though it's controversial, Charles Taylor was controversial. This is our most controversial comic, but it was like, let us own our controversy and talk about our stories. So this is
Okay.
Charles Taylor, who's a Lord of War, and our character, and he's in the spirit world, and he's talking about this power that they have. Um, so Charles Taylor, Lord of War. So
so
if you click the center. So you consume this comic and it's like great, and then you subscribe. You go back to the top 16 right 16 strikes NCU, which is the name of our universe. Just click that.
Mhm.
After you subscribe to it or whatever, you click Kona Productions. After you subscribe, but if yeah, you click Kona Productions. Once you click Kona Productions, here's our page. Actually, you have to
outside of
make you
yeah.
log in. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
saw outside of yeah.
go to Kelowna Productions. By after selecting our title, you go to Kelowna Productions, and on the left hand side, or usually in the middle, you'll see all our stories. You can select what you want. You can see the conversations we've been having. All our links to all our platforms are there. We want people to come here and follow us. From here, you can see that we're building a Black African multiverse within a Korean web platform.
Mhm.
And this is the information, this is me closing the information gap. If you want to know anything and everything about Colonut, you go to Webtoons, You search Kolanut, you log in, you sign up, use Google or Apple to sign in. You get in there, you scrub past all the non-black content, find us, follow us at the top. You go to the top, you click follow, and then you go and subscribe to each one of the content you find interesting, and you heart each that you find interesting. Every subscription and every heart is a vote to us. There's
Okay.
content in here that hasn't had a comic yet, but if we got high number of hearts and subscriptions for another piece of content, you're telling us what you want to be produced, and we will stop producing what we're doing and focus on that. Does that make sense? We're
That
using a
makes
product management mindset, right? You know what I'm saying? So if you're like
yeah.
16 strikes, this is it. Yes, Red Hunter's great, Obichuku, but this, and then we're getting a high number of likes, subscriptions. We're gonna focus on building that out, and that way we're listening to our community. And so this is what I wanted to share with the team.
This is a. You need to go to Webtoons, go check them out. Kolanut Productions, sign up, follow, subscribe. Because good Lord, I'm signing up after the show. I'm signing up for the show because I'm producing. I'm doing all this stuff. But yeah, this is dope. Obichuku, dude, this has been a great conversation. And with all dope guests, I always give them the. There you go. Seen him. We talked about it. You need to go subscribe, go to Webtoons, go check out Kolanut Productions. You can follow him also on IG and get all his great. And he's still going to point you towards Webtoons. Get that information. We gonna close that gap. We gonna close that gap. Man, but thank you, dude. Like,
Thank you.
this is something we need. We need these type of discussions. We need this type of content to come out, and so we can support it. Because if we don't, who will?
Right.
And even critique it. Like,
Yeah.
We want feedback. I want all the smoke.
Right. I've already seen like several panels, and I'm like, look, the art alone. I'm there because that's my bag. And that's just what it is. I like, reading about this type of stuff, and being drawn into the fact that you have not just fantasy, but you have a comedy, you have a romance, all of this stuff. It's not just one pot. There's a lot of stuff.
I got DVDs, man. What do you want?
Those be coming on there. Oh man. But man, once again, man, thanks for coming. Thank you for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. This was dope. Lady Mandalore, we're gonna get you up here in the screen real quick, and there we go.
Ooh.
All right. So we can get our sign off. All right.
Hi. I'm Lady Mandalore.
I'm gonna get you there.
No, it's a lot, but I also do a lot, so it's a lot to say. My name is Lady Mandalore. You can follow me on Instagram at Roomful of Blurs. You can also find me on TikTok under Child of Mandalore, and with that name, you can follow my podcast, which is also called Child of Mandalore, where I go into the history of the Mandalorians. On Saturdays,
Paz is the goat. Paz is the goat.
Yes. Oh God.
Rated E for everyone.
Oh God. Jesus, Mary and Christ. Side note. I still believe that the Mandalorians are supposed to be the African diaspora, but they just can't say it because they've gotten any production.
It gives you that feel. Gives you that feel.
I'm just saying. I'm gonna keep saying it. I've been saying it. And on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on an app called Fanbase, I hold a chat room every night where we talk about all things nerdy, whether it's something that happened to you at your job and you came through and you saved the day, or there's something going on in the DCU, whatever it's being called now, universe that you just need to bash, because I'm here for that very much.
It's the James Gunn universe at this point. It is. It's what it is.
Oh, I have a podcast. Jesus, Mary and Christ. I have a podcast that I do live every Sunday.
Check it out.
For now. Also at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and live on Twitch. it's fun. I have people come on like that person there.
Yeah.
Soon to be that person there
Hello,
too.
hello,
And maybe
hello.
this person here if he's not afraid.
It's always a blast.
Yes.
This last episode you did with Geek by Heart, our very own.
Very well
Uh,
done.
Miss Lainey,
Look,
thank
I was
you.
in the comment section and I'm like, I think I messed up and put them together. I'm in trouble. I'm
Wait till
never gonna live.
BlurCon, man. Wait till
Oh yeah,
BlurCon.
BlurCon. I'm gonna be
Oh.
in. Oh God, I
The
just thought about
Witches
that.
3, we shall be.
Yeah, Lord, you, Candy B, and Laney. Oh my God, I'm in
I'm just
trouble.
here for the chaos. I'm just here for the chaos.
I can see it now. I can see it now. Black Spartan, are you okay? I'm fine. However,
I'm just gonna be looking for the distress word.
yeah.
As long as you don't say the distress word, we good.
Oh my God. Oh, Will, tell them where they can find you, my guy.
Yes, I am Black Spartan, and yes, I am somehow still awake. New dad, so working off the sleep, working off nothing but caffeine and hope.
It's hustle time, baby.
Man, you ain't lying. But that being said, guys, you can find me Blackbox447 on all socials. I usually do reviews and everything that I watch, that I read, that I play, and even gym stuff because I do a couple push-ups. I actually have a couple podcasts of my own. I do my political daily news podcast called How the Frack We Got Here every Wednesday and every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I also have a video game podcast with my co-host Joe Tonello called Get Bit Podcast every Friday. Can also be found on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I am also one of the many heads of the legion of writers for Blurred's Eye View. I do cover the wrestling aspect of it all. Why wrestling? Because wrestling is real. People are fake. Shout out to Mr. Kidney for that one. Also, at the same time, guys, I am rooting for everybody black and for specific people of color and seasoned mayo. You know who you are. At the same time, guys, we need to be more supportive, more uniting. Give congrats to those that get that spot, that make that bag, that get it faster than you. It's not the fact that you should be salty about it. Just congratulate it because you want everybody to be happy when your time's coming up. At the same time, I'm rooting for everybody. I will share. I will post. I may not be able to buy sometimes because I got a kid now. I got to be responsible. I got responsibilities.
I don't like responsibilities.
I got responsibilities. That means I can't have fun anymore. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But again, we are all just trying to make guys. So I just have one rule about that because one rule about me is that I'm a very social person. I talk to almost everybody. Just have one rule: don't be a dick, and we'll all be cool.
There it is. Everybody, it is the man on the wall, Chris Fury, back once again. I want to thank our guest, Obi Chukwu of Kolanut Productions. Thank my team over here. Oh, you can't see my fingers, but that's okay. But I'm pointing in the right direction. So I want to thank our guests for coming on. This has been a dope episode, but then again, we always put out dope episodes because we get dope guests. So thank you once again for coming on, talking about Kolanut Productions, pointing us in the way. Go support my man. Go support all that they're doing over at Kolanut Productions. Go out, check out Webtoons. Go out Kolanut_Productions on IG. You need to go check them out. Show them some love. Support. Let's close that information gap so we can get more content out there. So we can get those animes out there. You know, I'm looking at you, Broken Beat Anime. Get that stuff out there, my man.
Y'all next.
Y'all next. We're gonna get y'all back on here.
Yeah.
But if you like what you've seen and you like what you heard, well, guess what you can do? Go support us. We can get stars now on Facebook, but you know, that's Facebook, whatever. I'm doing this because we are more than a podcast. But you can always go to IG, go to Blurred's Eye View, and it will send you there to the link tree in the bio right there. And it'll send you all the great places where you can find us, including Facebook. And you can also listen to us on Opulence Radio. Shout out to Amron for having us on Opulence Radio. You can listen to us all day on, I think it's Man Cave Monday and on Thursdays. Nice. Guess what? We're all over the place. Twitch, Blurred's Eye View 1, show love. You're watching on YouTube, where we always love you. Let's get those numbers up. We're getting there. We're closing in on 300.
Sweet.
Let's do more. Y'all got it in you. But hit that subscribe button and notification bell. You can find us and do all that great stuff. Shout out to our partners over at Ultimate Wireless. You can check them out down there and get your great techie stuff as well. And if you're in the blurred blind boxes, go to Taco Noir. TacoNoir.com. You get a discount code by typing in Blurred's Eye View at the end of when you're going to check out, and you get some great stuff. And guess where else you can find us? Always press record on Roku and Amazon Fire. Just go to Amazon. Let's go to alwayspressrecord.com. And if you have Roku or Amazon Fire, download the app. You can see our gorgeous faces talking to dope people like Obi Chukwu and Kolanut Productions and Carl Jones and Hieroglyphic. You know, Tafari told it earlier in the commercial. You know what I'm talking about. Until this Thursday. Next Thursday. Lord, I'm back to work already and already a week ahead of myself. Until Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, when we're talking to another fantastic Blurred guest, talking about more projects that they have coming out. Remember to check us out Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Thursdays at 9 p.m. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and all those great places where you can listen to us on your podcast. Anywhere you can listen to your podcast and watch us on the television. I would say it. I'd advise you to watch us while you're at work if you have a boring job, because that means no one's watching you. So until then, achieve that dream. But remember to educate yourself and others, entertain yourself and others, and most of all, encourage yourself and others. I'm Chris Fury, along with the squad and Obi Chukwu of Kolanut Productions. Thank you once again. We are out of here.